Hi, everyone. My name is Marissa Price. I am a Black woman social worker, healer, and business educator. And today is a special episode of a podcast I'm launching called On Freedom. And this episode is in commemoration of Juneteenth with special guest, my lovely friend, Alecia Renece, the artist. Before we get started, I'll just do a little intro into Juneteenth and the history of it. So Juneteenth marks the commemoration of June 19th, 1865, the day when formerly enslaved residents of Galveston, Texas, were alerted by Union General Gordon Granger that President Abraham Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation and they were officially free more than 2 years after the document was signed on January 1st, 1863. So with that, I will pass it over to my lovely guest, Alecia Renece, the artist, to introduce herself and tell us about her YouTube channel.
Yay. Thanks for having me. My name
Of
is Alicia
course.
Renece, and I am an artist. I'm a writer, I'm a singer, a photographer, a creator. And on my YouTube channel, I talk about art sometimes, and I talk about healing sometimes, and I talk about things that make me happy sometimes, and sometimes I just like to hang out and with my internet friends and have a good time. So I'm grateful to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. And we love it. You talk about so many interesting things on your channel.
Oh, thank
It's
you.
just like a perfect representation, right, of like being multi-passionate.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
feel like that's inspirational for a lot of us because like me, I have so many passions and I'm like, I have to niche down.
Yes.
Like I can't. I
Yeah,
just love to
no.
do so many different things. So yes, incredibly inspirational. Thank you.
Thank you.
But I do want to ask, what does Juneteenth signify to you? And what feelings does it evoke for you?
The first time I heard about Juneteenth, so I'm from the DMV area, and when Juneteenth would roll around in DC, there would be free parking, right? So that was my first introduction to Juneteenth. Upon like learning more from my teachers and my community, um, it signifies a lot. Obviously, like it signifies freedom, like officially, like okay, you're officially free, but also kind of not, right? And so
Hmm.
like so like Juneteenth is, I get it, it's important. And I don't say that passively, but I'm talking about I'm enraged when I think of Juneteenth. I'm enraged. I
Yeah,
think
me too.
of the fact that they were free and they did not know, and
Hmm.
how that was on purpose. Obviously they didn't know, but it's also like the fact that they were in bondage in the first place, right? They were living in bondage without any knowledge that they were free. And while the world kept turning, they were still living in this bubble of bondage. And I can't even imagine, like when you say like what feelings does it evoke? Like expansiveness, but also fear, right? Because I can't
Yeah.
imagine what it may have been like to be in bondage your entire life. And then one day you're just told, oh, you can do whatever you want to do,
Hmm.
right? Which is like, what? What do you mean? Where am I to go when all I know is this place? When all I know, is the nature that I'm around or the people that I work for. Um, yeah. So like just kind of released, into their
Yeah.
freedom without any actual supports or services.
Oh,
Um, and without any care. And like what do you do? How do you start over? And that's why a lot of people chose to stay, as sharecroppers or, working for the people who were enslaving them, because it's like, what else are we supposed to do? And and sadness, because theoretically they were free, but we all know, obviously at this point, that they were walking into the fire, right? Like
hmm.
out of the frying pan
Yeah.
into the fire. Like, and it was almost like slavery is cruel. And I mean, all of it is cruel, but the idea that, yes, I'm free, but then it's almost like you're playing with someone, you're like dangling freedom in front of their face like a carrot, and then
Hmm.
like yanking it back whenever beneficial, and also like slapping their hand because how dare you ask for the carrot when I told you that you can have the carrot. Um,
Mm. Yeah.
yeah, so it's actually kind of sorrowful for me, but I'm glad that my people are free.
Yeah. Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah. I do get angry, right? That was more
Yeah.
than 2 years that passed
Hmm.
when they were not alerted. And then this general comes in and tells everyone, oh, you're free. It's
Hmm.
like, and like you said, what do you do after that? This is all you know, right? And that's one of the things that I've been thinking more about, like freedom, the fear associated with freedom when you don't have the structures that you're used to when you were literally enchained for your entire life, right? And then all of a sudden it's like you're free because of this document. Like what must that have been like? Right? And we talk about like they were not given any supports. So the Freedmen's Bank was a failure, right? And that was supposed to be set up to assist people after the institution of slavery had ended. Um, and then everyone's deposits were lost because it ended up failing, right?
Yeah.
So we even see that today in the lack of trust in financial institutions, rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
All of these things still continue. So yeah, it does evoke feelings of anger, sadness. Why did it take 2 years? And
Yeah.
we know that, like in pockets of the Deep South, it took even longer
Mm-hmm.
for people to be notified that the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed. And that is a failure on
Yes.
epic proportions, right?
Yes.
How do you not have like a widespread campaign alerting people?
Yeah.
Because you actually didn't want to sign that in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a whole other story, right? The way that Abraham
Okay.
Lincoln is depicted.
Hello.
Um,
Deified.
yes,
Mm. Mm-mm-mm.
absolutely. When he didn't see us as equal,
At all.
far from it,
Mm-hmm.
right? His goal was to preserve the structure as it was of the US,
Mm-hmm.
not to view us as human, not to say that slavery was immoral,
Yeah.
which is how he is often depicted. So,
Yep.
yeah, that's
Mm-mm-mm.
real. That's real. And I know you said there are some, you said free parking on
Yes.
Juneteenth. DC.
Yeah. So, you know, I
Yeah.
so the DMV area, I love being from the DMV area because it's pretty multicultural in terms of like the Black diaspora. So you'll have folks from West Africa, you'll have folks from the Caribbean, you'll have folks from the South, from the North, like from all over. A lot of people come here to go to college at Howard and they don't leave. So there's like
Mm,
there's a lot of like rich Black culture here, and obviously like DC has its own Black culture. And so like the outskirts, we just kind of like, we're in technically, I guess, the suburbs, depending on where you are. But in the heart of DC, on Juneteenth, every year they would have free parking in DC. And I never put two and two together. And obviously, and also I didn't have a car, so it didn't really matter to me. But finding out later from teachers, I went to PG County schools, which is a county outside of DC. And a lot of my Black teachers educated us on a lot of things that I think even when I hear conversations about Juneteenth, a lot of people say like, "Oh, y'all don't know nothing about that. Y'all didn't care about it before." And it's like, I've always known about Juneteenth. Like that's never
mm,
been that's
hmm.
never been a thing. It was just kind of like, yeah, like you catalog that within all the other things that you're taught to honor and reverence. And so I think I've always had a reverence for Juneteenth. But not in the way that it's been, I guess, using air quotes, celebrated. And even saying that, like, what are we
Yeah,
celebrating? Like,
I
what are
have
we
an issue.
celebrating?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
that's
ahead, please.
complicated for me too. Yeah.
It is.
Hmm.
Yeah, because it's so layered and it's so evil. Like we're celebrating. First of all, okay, these people were brought from someplace else across the sea, brought here to
Hmm.
to make you money. And so now
Yeah.
we are celebrating someone, it's not even justice, right? Like we're celebrating people becoming free because people were lying to them and people were stealing their labor because after that, again, more hell, more
Hmm.
pain, more trauma, more violence, more labor, and just finding out new ways to still enslave other people. So it's kind of like, sure, and we honor that, and at the same time,
Hmm.
that still. So yeah, there was always an understanding of Juneteenth, but yeah, not as it's depicted today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like the term celebration is
Mm-hmm.
complex for me, right? Because
Yeah.
we never should have been enslaved in the first place. So
Exactly.
we're
Yep.
celebrating something that's inherently evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, being trafficked across an
Yes.
entire ocean,
Mm-hmm.
um, brought here to do labor under circumstances that I don't even have words for. I've tried to think of like words.
Mm-hmm.
There are no words, right,
There
for the
are none.
transatlantic slave trade.
No, no.
And so to celebrate that and also to see the way that it has been commodified,
Mm-hmm.
right? When
Mm-hmm.
we see like Juneteenth ice cream and like, I'm like, no,
Mm.
no.
Like what?
Yeah,
The
it
the
actually
I
hurts.
It does
Yeah.
hurt. it does hurt. Like the idea that you can commodify people's pain for
Yeah.
profit is just
Mm-hmm.
disgusting to me. And even this becoming like a federal holiday,
Mm-hmm.
it's it that in itself is irritating because it's like a lot of black folks work service jobs, right? They don't get
Yes.
no days off. So like the people who benefit from this federal holiday, it's not us, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then having and then all my yeah, I'm side eyeing you, white man on my day off on Juneteenth, and you're enjoying like the
Oh,
luxuries of a free
yeah.
day that you didn't earn, and like literally people paid for this with their blood and sweat and tears, like quite literally, you feel me?
Yeah.
And instead of having a day where we honor how many lives were actually lost between well, let's start here, between colonizing America, what is
Mm-hmm.
America now, and
Yeah.
then with the slave trade, like how many lives were lost, how many souls were lost, not just at sea but at birth, like
Mm-hmm.
how many women drown their children because
Yep.
because I wanted them to be free. Like let's really talk about what freedom actually is. You know what I'm like? There are people who chose death to be free over being enslaved, and I'm getting chills as I talk about this because Juneteenth is on a Wednesday this week, and I'm just interested to see how people really honor the sacrifices made for us to enjoy our, using air quotes, freedom. And I just got a text from I don't even know what the business was, but it's about like waxes, like like Brazilian waxes and things like that. And it's like
Mm-hmm.
Juneteenth sale
Oh,
waxes, and I'm
no.
like, what? Like how
No.
insulting. What
It
is
is.
like what? And then all of the then there's also like dialogue around like beauty and how that in itself, like how
Mm-hmm.
much money actually women spend on beauty and waxing itself, or like taking hair
Yeah.
off of their body to seem enough. And it's just like so ironic to me because this sale in itself is disgusting. It's that you're using Juneteenth, anything for sale, but then
Mm-hmm.
also that you're selling something. And I'm not knocking people who get waxes because I get waxes, right? And I
Mm-hmm.
enjoy them. But at the same time, it's like, let's think of another way for women to be self-conscious this week. Let's make money off of their insecurity and off of them not feeling free, in honor of
Yeah.
Juneteenth. Like how disgusting. So it's all
Truly.
performative.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really care. You know what I'm saying? And sadly, just like anything that Black life either inspires or creates, right? Like they find a way to cheapen it. They find a way to
Mm-hmm.
cheapen it. Like it's just hot trash. So I'm annoyed because Black folks, in a perfect world, all Black folks, okay, would be able to be off and be celebrated and be loved and spend time with one another. But again, like I said, a lot of them work jobs where they can't just have a day off, you know?
Yeah.
And yeah, we haven't really come that far, honestly.
No,
Yeah.
not at all. We don't
Mm.
even have a widespread acknowledgement that enslavement happened
That part.
in the US. So it's like we're skipping steps. It's like, hold on.
Right.
Now we're celebrating and y'all are celebrating, like you said, because people, like white people, that getting the day off, that irritates me.
Same. My
That irritates me
soul.
so deeply because I'm
Yes.
like,
Yes.
y'all don't even acknowledge how
Uh-huh.
we got here, right? In the role that y'all played
Yep.
in this.
It's
And
like,
now you're having a barbecue and
yeah.
you're having your
Oh my
family over. No,
Mm.
no.
Mm-mm-mm.
It
Not at
just
all.
dilutes the entire meaning, which is like a problem with the US in so many other ways, right?
Yes. Yes.
Constant dilution of people's real sacrifices and real advocacy,
Mm-hmm.
right? We know that Opal Lee, a teacher in Galveston,
Mm-hmm.
advocated for the passing of Juneteenth to be a federal holiday for decades.
Mm-hmm.
And so to see it like you said, sales and
Mm-hmm.
ice cream and party, like,
Yep. It's capitalism literally ruins everything. White supremacy ruins
yeah,
everything. It sucks the soul. It sucks the soul out of things. And like, yeah, yeah. I just agree. Everything you said. Agree.
yeah, it's horrible.
It
It's
is.
horrible. But I do want to ask you what freedom means to you personally, and
Mm-hmm.
also when do you feel the most free?
Mm. So I'll start with the second question. I feel the most free when I'm ugly laughing with my friends. I feel the most free when I'm barefoot in the woods, like as in like not the deep woods, but like right here on the outskirts of the woods. I feel free sitting under the sky. I feel free naked. I feel free when I'm dancing. Um, yeah, I feel free when I'm singing, when I'm playing with my voice. I feel free when I'm not doing things for money. I feel free when I'm around people that I feel safe and in environments that I feel safe in. And I think for me, like freedom is really about choice, like about safety, about peace, like being able to breathe deeply with peace, like that feeling, like how it
Yes.
feels to take a deep breath and close your eyes. Like that's what
I have this
freedom.
written down. Yeah. The
Yeah.
ability to breathe deeply. That's what I
Yeah.
have in my notes. Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Like just breathing deeply, closing your eyes, relaxing your shoulders, like unclenching your jaw, and not even doing it in a way that's like, oh, I need to remember to do it, right? But just doing it naturally because you feel so like expansive and safe. And so choice again for me is a big part of freedom, like having the choice that I feel most loved by people around me who allow me to exercise choice and who honor my choices. So
Right.
not even that you're preventing me from doing something, but are you going to, drag me, so to speak, because I choose to do something that you might not do, or I choose to you know, my personhood in a way that you wouldn't, and my person in a way that you wouldn't, like, my femininity, my womanhood,
Hmm.
whatever it is, my black womanhood, do you honor the soul of me and not just like the expression of me? And so Nina Simone has like that quote that says, no fear, right? Like what is freedom? No fear, no fear. And and I agree with her, but I also like I think you can be free and fearful at the same time. Like I think sometimes
Yeah. Hmm.
exercising freedom is scary. Like
Yes.
being free, taking like making the choice that is not popular is scary.
Hmm.
When you're facing backlash and all these other things. And so, yeah, on some level, like there's no fear, but it's also like doing the thing in spite of the fear, like still having the choice to do the thing in spite of the fear, without the threat of violence or, whatever else may come from you doing a thing, retaliation.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it was Stephanie Perry. I'll never forget that she said, like, put fear in the passenger seat, right?
Yes.
Buckle it up. It's like we're going on a ride. Fear is not going
Yeah.
to stop me
Mm-mm.
from going towards what I want to go towards.
Mm-hmm.
And that is freedom to
Mm-hmm.
me, right?
I love that.
Yeah, I have in my notes like the ability to be in my body fully,
Mm-hmm.
um, to sit in the sunshine, to look at the trees, to appreciate the beauty of the earth, to
Yeah.
live unchained physically and mentally, because we know
Mm-hmm.
that chains are not always physical, but oppression takes hold in our minds as well.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that I'm unlearning all of the things that have intentionally tried to take my freedom from me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm becoming like more of myself, right? And I think that's part of freedom to live authentically. And
Yes.
it's also like these simple things, like you
Mm-hmm.
said, like being in nature,
Mm-hmm.
right? Going out and looking at the sky.
Yeah.
That feels free to me
Yeah.
because even when I think about like the prison industrial complex, right?
Mm-hmm.
That is a luxury that a lot of us don't get to experience.
Yeah.
Just going outside freely on your
Mm-hmm.
time and being able to enjoy Earth, the
Yes.
planet that we're on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even you saying that, like it being made illegal for you to enjoy your home, which is Earth. Like
Yeah.
it's suspicious that people are taking a night walk. Like it's suspicious that
Yeah.
people are crowding together when, especially like in a place where you don't provide places for people to gather, right? There are no places for people to
Cool.
gather. And so they find their places to gather on corners or, at somebody's house, on somebody's stoop, or at the park. And it's seen as suspicious. Like this idea of, like technically we're free, but not really. Like we're always kind of aware or cognizant. At least I am. I can only speak for myself, but I think a lot of people from people that I've spoken to feel the same. Like we're always kind of looking over our shoulder a little bit, especially like living here in the U.S.
Hmm.
Always being
Yeah.
afraid of being criminalized for existing, like for wanting to leisurely sit on a bench or lay
Hmm.
across, the ground and soak in some sun. When you were talking about like, prison, even the way that they build cities, right? They're building skyscrapers to block the sun from poor people, to freeze
Hmm.
them to death, to bake them
Yeah.
to death because the sun gets absorbed into the concrete and then it gets released over time. So like it's like I literally wrote something like it was like it's just a journal entry, just like venting and how they sold our skies to like developers.
Oh, wow.
Like our
They
skies
sold
are
our
sold.
skies.
Yeah. And when you can't see the sky, you have no hope. You have no
Wow.
hope. You can't dream. You can't see beyond where you are. Like how important it is to be able to see, the skyline. There's hope
Yeah.
in that. When you feel hopeless, you look up. If you look up and all you see is concrete, you feel hopeless. Like, and I feel
Yeah.
like this stuff is done on purpose. That's a whole other
It
conversation.
is.
But yes.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
That makes me think about there was a study that I read like a few years ago about the heat, right? And when
Mm-hmm.
you're like, there are areas, especially in St. Louis, I think that's where the study was done, where the heat is so much more intense because there's not trees
Yep.
to
Exactly.
absorb the sun versus being in the suburbs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus like North City, which is an area that's highly segregated in
Yeah.
St. Louis, where I'm from originally.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this is very intentional.
Yeah.
Restricting like the parts of the planet that we live on that
Yes.
literally give us oxygen,
Mm-hmm.
give us the things that we need to survive, right? Vitamin D, the sun.
Yep.
It's like being blocked, sold, and then packaged to only the few who can afford it.
Yep. Who can look down on us peons?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
yeah.
And
And you
like,
brought up,
oh, sorry.
yeah.
No, no,
I was
please.
just gonna say like the gathering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just doing like a little bit of research into anti-loitering laws
Mm-hmm.
and how they were developed during Jim Crow,
Yep.
right? And this is something that's very unique to the US, especially being abroad now, in
Mm-hmm.
Guadalajara,
Mm-hmm.
Mexico. Seeing people gather and no one's bothering them. And I'm
Yes.
still having to reset my nervous system that it's okay for me to sit outside,
Mm-hmm.
that no one's gonna come up to me and like, first of all, invade my space.
That part.
Okay, but like the police are not gonna be circling me, like side-eyeing me all the time. And there are actually green spaces and the benches don't have dividers on them, right?
What a dream. Yeah.
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 So people are able to lay down, right? There is a clear issue of homelessness
Mm-hmm.
in Guadalajara that is very real.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that there's not those partitions and benches
Yeah.
and people can actually lay down, although they
Yes.
should be sheltered,
Yes.
um, yeah, that's been something new for me to see. And I
Yeah.
think traveling really gives you that perspective that the way things are in
Mm-hmm.
the US are so incredibly evil
Yes.
in so
To the
many different
core.
ways. It's like, ooh,
Yep.
and this has just been normalized.
Yeah. And that's the scary work, right? It's like when you start digging, you will find dirt. And at the core of
Yeah.
that dirt, you'll find more dirt. Like you'll find it's almost like there's no end. Like
Yeah.
every time I'm researching something, like why is this like this? Like be careful with asking why, because you will find out. And then you will find out just
Mm.
how evil this country is. Like, yeah, like even the idea you're talking about, like resting and things like that, and being sheltered and being able to just enjoy. Like I went on a campus recently and I was reading a book in my car, and I had this man basically harassing me and telling me that I couldn't sit here. It's summer session, by
What?
the way. Yes, it's summer session. And there's nobody there, but I was just sitting in my car enjoying the breeze, sitting under a tree
Yeah.
and reading a book. My car was off.
Hmm.
I was not idling. I was just reading my book, and some man drove up next to me, and I just ignore. I ignore police officers. I don't make eye contact with them because I know that I'm not doing anything illegal, right? And I
Right.
don't like being bullied. And so I don't make eye contact, and he puts his car in park and he pulls up next to me, and he's like, "Oh, do you have a permit to be here?" And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And so I
Oh.
said, "Do you have a permit to be here?" And I was like, "There's no one here." When I said the thing was empty, it was empty. I said, "I'm just trying to read my book." And I was like, "I just can't sit
Hmm.
here and read my book." And he was
Right.
like, "No, you have to leave." It's like
Uh,
there's right. And you're in this school was created in the middle of a community, right? Like you're taking the community's
ooh.
resources and you're not
Wow.
allowing community to come and take advantage of what you stole from community. Like,
Hmm.
and so with a parking permit. And then also, why do you have parking permits when people are that's another conversation. Thousands of dollars every year people are coming to learn. You're also charging them to park and then putting tickets on them that are worth more than the actual permit. So like this entire system I'm realizing is working off of lack. Like it's creating scarcity where there was none, right? It's creating scarcity, it's creating crime where there was none. Like why is it a crime to loiter as a human
Hmm.
being? Why is it a crime? To like
Right.
everything else can loiter. The bugs can loiter. The squirrels can loiter.
Mm-hmm.
Plants can loiter, right? But because I'm in a black body, I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to
Exactly.
loiter or rest. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. And just the term loitering, like, what is that? Me just standing still and
exactly,
resting? Me
exactly.
taking a moment to myself? Like, this was literally created out of thin air during Jim Crow
Mm-hmm.
to put more Black people into prison.
Exactly.
Because we
Yep.
know the institution of slavery ended with the Emancipation Proclamation, but the practice continued, right? Um, and we see it in so many different representations still, because the
Yes.
system will continue to recalibrate
Mm-hmm.
at every turn.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Yeah, yeah. That's been so interesting for me to not see anti-loitering signs. That's not a thing.
Yeah.
That's really not a thing outside the US.
And it's hard to imagine. It's really hard to imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. And you brought up something else about the concept of private property, right? That
Yes.
entire concept. When I was in DC, right, doing a house sit recently, this man came up to me when I was walking the dogs and he said he was going to call the cops on me because it was private property and the dogs couldn't be in the yard. I'm like, I had two huge dogs with me. I'm like, you know what? I could do some things right now, but I'm just gonna walk away
Yes.
because I'm trying to keep it, it's
Keep it cute.
Saturday. I'm not trying to, yeah. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, welcome back to the US.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Hmm.
especially in that area where you were, it's like there's a lot of snooty people who believe that they're the people in the for so to speak. DC doesn't allow like tall structures because they don't allow structures taller than the monument. And also I think because we're
Mm.
near the Capitol, like it has something to do with safety and that kind of thing. So it's like so because we don't have skyscrapers, like and so you're not able to look down on people literally, you can based on like so if you're in Northwest, for example, you can technically look down on Northeast or on Southeast or Southwest. And so like these people feel entitled to things one that's not theirs, but they feel better than other people. And so it's like I've earned the right to have access to this, you have not. And so a lot of people will, sadly, yes, in DC, they be the worst ones sometimes. They will be
Hmm.
like, you're not allowed to enjoy this thing. You're not allowed to have access to this thing. And private property is such a dumb thing to like, it doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense. Like
it
these
doesn't.
boundaries don't exist. This
They
land
don't.
was open and free until you decided to put
Yes.
a line here. It's not,
Hmm.
it's not a real line. It's not
It's not.
real. And even the acquiring the land, like you stole it. It's not even yours to sell. Like you all are
Exactly.
making money on money, like on every time you turn it or flip it or whatever. And it wasn't even yours to begin with. It
No.
wasn't even yours to begin with. So the audacity of you telling me where I can and cannot place my feet when my feet were stolen from a whole other continent is
Hmm.
wildly absurd to me. Like I feel like I'm going off, but it's just like the
No.
the idea that somebody can tell you, and again, I can understand like if you're being violent or if you're someplace like literally where you should not be or taking advantage of somebody, that's different. But like you think that I'm lesser than you, so therefore I don't deserve to take up space. And I don't deserve
Exactly.
to be within your eye, within your view. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And we talk about like places that people shouldn't be, right? Colonizers. How are y'all in control of deeming who gets to access spaces when y'all shouldn't be here in the first place? That's
Hello.
a whole other thing. But they create
Yes.
these laws and regulations and restrictions and borders to legitimize what they've done, even though it continues to be illegitimate because y'all came here, stole land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forcibly. We know, like with the treaties with indigenous nations,
Yep.
um,
That
how
they often
many,
broke.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
how many nations were lied to,
Mm-hmm.
right? With these treaties and these documents, all of these like legalities, it's a part of colonization
Absolutely.
because it puts the power in their hands to deem who can access spaces. And they'll always end up on top because that's how the entire system is structured.
Absolutely. Oh, and even when you talk about like legalities, I'm thinking about like legalese, like even the language of legal, like the legal language is so confusing and intimidating
Yeah.
that it's a classist thing, right? Because if you don't have access to the language, you don't understand what's happening. And also you're not necessarily expecting someone to take advantage of you, right? Like you're not expecting someone to slip in a clause at the end. Because like I think about this when people talk about, oh, the United States wasn't stolen, we just won. It's like, no, you all were underhanded
Oh,
and sneaky. It wasn't even a fair fight. Like, let's be so for
exactly.
real. It wasn't even fair. You all, like, people would be like, oh, you snuck them, right? Like you took advantage of somebody when they were not guarded, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
is not respectable, even in terms of like just people fighting. And so what
Yeah.
makes you think that you are the more powerful one because you are the more evil one? Like you're just more evil. Nobody would have expected anybody to be as evil as them. And that's the only reason why they have acquired all this land, because they had to
That's
use
true.
force. You couldn't use language. You couldn't use kindness. You're not smart enough to do that. You're not smart
Mm-hmm.
enough to share, right? So you had to resort to violence because
Yep.
that's the only thing that's working for you. And you had to use weapons that nobody else had access to.
Yes.
Like you're a cheat. You're not a
Yes.
winner, you're a cheater. And so like,
Ooh.
so for me it's just like, miss me with all that explaining, explaining, excuse me, because like it's just a cope. Like you're just trying to, all of this, all the structure that we live in, all the power that exists, is just to feed into this delusion to allow them to keep lying to themselves that they're somehow more powerful. They're not. What is powerful is kindness. What is powerful is sharing. What
Yeah.
like that is power. But like
Yeah.
for them, they're so, I will say, devolved in their thinking that you think power
Mm-hmm.
is lording over somebody, destroying something or someone. Like
Yes.
we're coming from two different angles, two different understandings of power and resources. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I can just go on forever, but yes.
No, absolutely. Yep. Like you said, y'all lied and cheated. How does that make you the winner? I'm
Yes, yes.
confused by
And then
that.
called yourself honorable? Huh?
No.
How dare you?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mm. And then, yeah, changing the narrative, right? Um, like you said, that they were the most powerful, that they won all the wars. It's like, first of all, y'all introduced, oh my God, diseases that no one
Yes.
had come into contact with before. And
Mm-hmm.
that's a whole other conversation, like about the
Yes.
pandemic, how we've
Yes.
seen people operate as if it was back in like the 1600s, right? In the same way of
Mm.
intentionally spreading diseases to people as a means of genocide.
Yep. Yep. As a means to gain resources. As
Yeah.
like, it literally, I wrote down in my journal the other day, I'm like, history is, what did I say? I said like, history is a roadmap to the future, but people don't want to pay attention to history. They want to disregard it. Like, history is literally showing you what to and what not to do based on what has happened in the past. And for us, and I feel like a big reason why they want us to forget history is so we don't have a roadmap. Like they want us
Yeah.
to feel hopeless and like, oh, this is all there ever be. And, again, that freedom, like when you dream, you have freedom. When you hope, you have freedom. If you don't have hope or your dreams, you have nothing. Right. And so I think they do a very good job in creating scarcity, or the idea that we are scarce as individuals and a collective. There's 8 billion of us.
Mm-hmm.
There's 8 billion of us.
Yeah.
How can you feel hopeless?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel hopeful. I feel excited because like if there's enough, especially in this day and age, like with social media, messages going so fast. Like there's so much that we can do. There's so much that we can change. But like, they're throwing us into the system of despair to exhaust us so that we can't think of something else better for the future. And like
Mm-hmm.
all the stuff is done on purpose. You know what I mean? So, but yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It's intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, oppression is also a mind game, right? Even when we think about the numbers, people of the global majority outnumber white people by like, whoo, leaps and bounds.
Okay.
But yeah, but because they have control of the narrative, because,
Mhm.
and I've been thinking a lot about this, like the psychology of oppression, how violence is used to enforce messaging. So you can have, when I think about a plantation system, you can have one person right? One white person lording over like 200 people who were enslaved. But because of the psychology of oppression, how our brains work, when you reinforce that with fear and with violence, people are not going to stand up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it takes a lot to come out of that and realize that it's just one person,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
because that's how oppression functions.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. But yes, scholar and activist Angela Davis tells us that freedom is a constant struggle. I would love to know, how do you interpret the meaning of this phrase?
Yeah. So I'm I'm going to use that phrase not in context, not in the context, I guess, that she necessarily meant um the way that she said it. But I think when I hear that phrase, the first thing I think of is like, yeah, it's true. Because when you get free on one level, right, there's always another level, and there's always something to unlearn, and there's other always another giant, and there's always other people to set free as well, right? And I think when you are a free person, you will always kind of be fighting bondage, whether that be like you talking about like the mindset or getting into the mental of someone, right? The messagings that we believe, oh, you're just one person, you're insignificant, right? That is a limiting belief, like literally, like that is
Hmm.
a belief that limits the idea of you and what you're capable of and what you could inspire. Because as we're speaking, we're talking about Angela Davis. That's one person, but she's a powerful person.
It's true.
And people
Yeah.
respect her and respect her journey and her philosophy, even as it's changed over the years. Like I think about how there's always going to be someone trying to pull you back into bondage. And I think about that even in terms of enslavement, how when you're talking about the violence, right? If you get enough people to be afraid to push back, we
Yes.
will start
Hmm.
controlling each other, right? We will start
Yes.
because we care. We care. And we also don't want to be reflected on badly because we think we're all going to suffer too, right? So even within within I'll talk about my mother, right? And my mother loves me, but I also know that she's afraid for me as an artist, for example, because
Yeah.
she wants me to have a career where there's a steady paycheck. Everything is, everything is certain for the most part. I'm putting this in air quotes because it's not true, asterisk.
Yeah.
But like everything is certain. Everything is predictable, I should say. Like I know what I'm doing every day. I go on and do the same thing. But I have a desire to be free. And I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like. And so
Yeah.
because I don't really have like hey, here's plan A and B and here's the next step and blah blah blah, I'm just kind of living it as I'm learning as I'm living. And for her, she will sometimes, put things like, maybe you should X, Y, and Z. And it's not from a place of like, oh, I don't believe in you and you're the worst. It's more like I'm afraid for you, right? And I'm afraid of what could possibly happen to you. And I have to actively work to be like, you're safe. You're okay. You
Mm.
trust yourself. You know
Yeah.
what you're talking about. You know what you're doing. You are supported. You are more resourceful than you think you are, right? Like, so always remaining, I think, what is it like when you hear one negative thing, you need like five good things or something like that to hear. I think it's the
Yeah.
same way. When once that doubt gets in there, it's a constant fight to stay free because you already have the voices in your head saying, I don't know, girl. I don't know. I
It's
don't know if this is
true.
gonna work. So it is always a constant struggle. And it's also learning that even as we seek freedom for ourselves, learning the biases that we have, right? Like the prejudices, the beliefs, the internalized anti-blackness, the internalized misogyny, the internalized
Mm.
racism, like all these different things that we have to like unlearn, even if it's just messaging about them. I think that would be a life's work because it's been 400 years of programming, right? And so I will be unlearning 400 years of programming probably for the rest of my life. So I think it's so layered, and also considering, that's what I was trying to say before, considering the freedoms of others, right? And yeah, considering the freedoms of others. So like okay, if I feel free but my freedom is infringing on the freedoms and the safety of other people, it's not freedom. It's violence.
Yeah.
Like that's not freedom. And I
Ooh.
think that
Hmm.
a lot of people think like, oh, I'm free to do whatever I want no matter how it affects other people. That is not freedom. Like that's not free. If your freedom makes other people not free, it's not freedom. It is bondage. So like, so I think for myself, I do think about being free, like I had a project called like a free Black woman where I wanted like every Black woman to define their own freedom and define themselves for themselves. And I still probably will do it again, but it's like I want to kind of rework it where it's like, no, like we are collective though. Like our freedom is dependent on each other's freedoms. Like we all need to be concerned about the freedoms of everyone. You know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
I don't want to make decisions that feel free to me but put other people in bondage. So I'm always trying to be thoughtful of that. Like what is the best decision for the collective and not just for myself, you know?
I love that. Yeah. And I would love to hear more about Free Black Woman, the project that you mentioned, if you'd like to share.
Yes, sure. Thanks for asking. So I started this project, I think in like 2017, if I'm not mistaken. And I had this idea because this was around the time where I started hearing, not hearing, started hearing, but it was becoming more prominent online to hear Black men bashing Black women specifically.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I was tired of it. I was tired of people talking about the angry Black woman and the spicy. They don't use spicy, but that's like a Black woman with a bad attitude. Um,
Yeah.
and how they disparaged Black women. And I'm like, who cares what they think about you? What do we think about ourselves? Because Black women are allowed to have attitudes. Black women
Hmm.
are allowed to be angry, despite what you heard, and that is her exercising her freedom. So I want Black women to be able to define themselves for themselves. And some people, so it would be a photo project where we started out in a library and I rented out a library room and I set
Oh,
up the backdrop. It was fun. It was fun. And I put
okay.
out like, hey, I'm doing a project. If you want to come out. So I had some friends come out. I took their photos behind like a yellow backdrop. Because I think Black women on yellow, period, just like
Everything.
beautiful,
Yeah.
everything. Okay. So the pictures were they were gorgeous because they were gorgeous and I wanted them to come dressed in however they felt comfortable. So some people came with sweats, some people were dressed because it's not really about like trying to be beautiful. It's like, no, I want to capture your beauty, right? The beauty that already exists.
Right.
And I had them pick a word. So it would say like I am the blank Black woman, right? And so the free Black woman was a project, but some people would pick I'm the bitter Black woman and owning that, right? And not being shamed for how she felt. So like, yeah, no, I am embittered, actually. I am angry. I am upset. But there were also, I'm the joyful Black woman. I'm the forgiving Black woman. And talking about like we hear the forgiving Black woman, excuse me, but we don't often talk about like the pain with forgiving, like the struggles with forgiving. And it was really beautiful to hear people's stories behind their words and why they chose that and why they chose to define themselves this way. And I believe that everybody has a story that's worth listening to. so so I loved being able to capture them and share their stories with the world. And I want to get back to that. Like that's what made me feel alive. The frustrating part is like resources because capitalism is a thing. It's ghetto.
Yes.
And
Hmm.
so like trying to keep up personal projects while also trying to remain fed and cared for is a struggle, right? Because I think this work is important, but I also got to eat, right? But now, now that I'm able to about to go on sabbatical, I plan on having more of those personal projects, like the things that actually mean a lot to me. Not saying that the work that I do now doesn't, but like because of capitalism, and that's something I'm also unlearning, like having to have a valid reason why I should do something. Like, and usually that reason has to do with like business or money. And it's like, no, I'm doing it for the joy that I feel in my soul when I do it. Like I'm doing it because it feels like I need to do it, and not really giving
Yeah.
people a reason, but or trying to intellectualize it. Like just no, like lean into the feeling, just do the thing. So yes, that was a
Right.
project.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
that. And I would also love to ask about the love letter project,
Yes,
which I
yes.
think you're embarking on. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the Love Letter Project is a podcast at this point. But it's really like all my work, I'm realizing. And so it's so funny because I'm in the process. I'm stuttering. I'm in the process of changing the name of my podcast, the Love Letter Project. Because yes, but I'm thinking about changing it just to the Alecia Renece podcast. I don't know. Like
Oh, wow.
it's so weird
I love
because
it.
thank you. Because
Yeah.
I am multi-passionate and trying to make myself make sense for the masses is just like if that doesn't feel free to me. And
Mm.
I had this frustrating like debate with myself where I was like, girl, why are you afraid to name your podcast after you? And the first thought that came up, Marissa was like, who am I? Like nobody really knows my
Wow.
name like
Yeah.
that, right? Like is my name enough? To like it's not going to be SEO friendly, right? Like it's just like, hey, this if you know who I am, you know who I am. But it's
Hmm.
like, what if we actually gave ourselves a chance to experiment and to see what it
Yeah.
would be to be able to be your full self on your podcast and your music, whatever you're doing, because you do so many things. Give yourself the opportunity to be free And so I think that's what I'm leaning into. Like I've been brainstorming titles. I used my podcast used to be called the Free Black Women Podcast. And there were parts where I still want to do segments where I interview women and just have like conversations with them, like not about anything in general, but just like let's talk. um,
Right.
because I think conversations are beautiful and healing. I've named it the Full Well Project, which is another project that kind of it's based off of the scripture, marvelous are your works, and I know that full well. So it's like I want people to
Mm.
know full well that they are marvelous, that they are beautiful, that they are amazing. And I realize like a lot of my work is about healing myself, yes, but also reminding people of who they are. Like even in my photography, taking pictures of people because I want them to see who they are. Look at yourself. Look at how
Hmm.
beautiful you are, right? Like, um, oh, sorry. So yeah, so the Full Well Project has evolved the love letter into the Love Letter Project. And so the Love Letter Project is about writing, singing, encouraging people to love themselves, to love each other, to love the world, right? Um, but I think I'm starting to lean into just like, how about you just be yourself? You know? So
Mm. I
so
love
it's just
that.
a
Yeah.
whole long journey, but yes.
Yeah. And I think that just speaks to like the freedom of allowing yourself to evolve, right? Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of us feel like we have to be the same person, we have to be in boxes. And a lot of the
Yes.
times when we're growing up, I know you talk so much about reclaiming your childhood self, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as we're growing up, it's like we get less and less free because no, it's like this pressure to fit into these boxes, to be palatable to other
Yes.
people,
Yes.
to have these job titles that other people view as respectable
Mm-hmm.
versus being who we were when we came to Earth, which is fully and completely ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
amazing, right? Just as
Yes.
we were.
Yes.
So yeah, if you want to share anything on just like the freedom of allowing yourself to evolve and maybe like shed and come back
Yes.
into who you were the entire time.
Oh, I love this. Thanks so much for asking.
Yeah.
I'm literally reading a book called The Spirit of Intimacy, Ancient African Teachings and the Ways of Relationships by Sabonfu Some. I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that, so please
Oh.
forgive me. But it's a really good book. It's a pretty short read, but it's a rich read. And one thing that she talks about is how in the Dagara village, like in their culture,
Hmm.
they when a person is pregnant, right, they do a hearing ceremony and
Hmm.
they literally like ask the mother to channel the spirit of her child to speak to the people, and they ask the baby, they ask the baby, what are you here for?
Oh,
Like,
wow.
yes, what are you here for? The world is so crazy. Why do you want to come here? Like, what do you bring? What gifts are you bringing when you come? Right. And then the child is born. And at about 5 years old, right, they have an initiation process where they help the child to remember again. Because at the age of 5, she says, growing up, and this stuck, oh my gosh, it stuck out to me. Like, and I've
Yeah.
been writing feverishly about this, but growing up is the act of forgetting. Growing up is the
Ooh,
act, and I'm just like,
gems.
yes,
Oh my
yes.
gosh.
Growing up is the act of forgetting. And I was like,
Hmm.
yo, that makes so much sense because when we go to school, we're like what, 4 years old, 4 or 5 years
Hmm.
old. And like we start to forget who we are and we're being molded into who they're telling us we have to be loved, to
Yeah.
be respected, and to be successful. Um, and we never come back to that hearing ceremony, so to speak. We know who we are when we come here. We know who we
Yes.
are.
Hmm.
And there's this act of helping us to forget who we are and to embody something else or someone else, and we feel detached from ourselves, we feel unfulfilled, we feel sad, we feel sorrow because like there's somebody that we're forgetting, right? Like there's the us that we
There's
know that we
someone that we're
are.
forgetting. Oh my
Yes.
gosh.
Yes.
Hmm.
Like, and so for me, like the act of going back and going to get myself is it's healing, yes, but for me it just feels revolutionary. Like you were talking about the English language. The English language is limited. There's not a lot of
Hmm.
like feeling in it. It's pretty like as a matter of fact, and that's not even who I am as a person, right? Like who I
Right.
am is fluid. You know, like
Hmm.
that's who I've always been, but like no, I have to fit the boxes when we're talking about categories, right? I have to be palatable, I have to be understandable, I have to fit in this box. People have to have an easy understanding of me. When in reality, can I lean into me not being easily digestible? Like maybe I am
Hmm.
complicated. Maybe
Hmm.
I am too much for you. You feel
Right.
me? Like I feel great. I'm having a great time. but it's always in like relation to other people. And going back and going to get myself is saying, you are dope. Okay. You were never
Hmm.
wrong. There was nothing ever wrong with you, homegirl. You know who you are. You know what you mean. And like, and we have these little like eruptions of it, like, I wonder if what would it be like to X, Y, and Z and all this other stuff. And it's like,
Yeah.
that's the invitation of your inner child asking you to come back home, to come get
Mm.
her. Like that, like that's the invitation. It's we look for, I think that one of the messed up things about the West is this need for everything to be able to be quantified and like measured and
Ooh, I was just, ooh,
right.
yes. That is something that has been coming up for me a lot. The emphasis on quantitative
Yes.
data on
Yes.
everything.
Oh
Ooh,
my
yes.
gosh. Like it takes the soul out of everything because if you can't quantify it, right? Then to them it doesn't exist. And they don't,
Yeah.
and because they don't have the spirit to know, the
Yeah.
spirit to see, they have to
Hmm.
make everything literal because they have no spirit. They have no
Yes.
spirit. And so
Yes.
like if everything has to be literal before you move to the next thing, it's really not really living. It's kind of in reality, like we say, like, oh, we want everything to be predictable. Okay, kind of, but not. We don't really want everything to be predictable because we would get
Hmm.
bored. We need things
Right.
to be, and I think like it's like the awesome adventure to be able to go back. Actually, I want to be a kid again. Like actually, like my child self had it right, and actually, that's where I'm gonna find fulfillment, and not like I wasn't complete before, but because I'm aligned with who I really am. Like I think that's really one of the keys I'll say because I'm still getting there.
Hmm.
I'm not there yet, but like it's one of the keys wherever there is. I'm putting there in quotes, but like wherever there is, even if I spend my entire life getting back to that place, it would have been worth it. If I get back to the me that I was, like to be able to live fully as myself, but also to give the world the gifts that it needs. Like there are so many works of art that we will never see.
Yeah.
There are so many songs we'll never hear. There's so many revolutions that will never start, that will never begin. There's so
Yeah.
much change in the world that won't happen because we have been programmed to hate our child self, to see our child self as silly or immature or childlike in a way that is offensive and not, infectious. Like your ideas are stupid. So come be, no knock to the engineers. Come be an engineer with me. But it's like, no, but I want to be a poet.
That was me.
Oh,
Come be a financial analyst. Like when this entire time I have
yes.
been like a creative dreamer. It's like, yeah.
Period.
And coming into
Yes.
your communities, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can actually go back and like get this girl who I
Yes.
like left behind trying to
Yeah.
be like this robotic adult and getting
Mm-hmm.
acceptance and validation from
Mm-hmm.
external parties. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. And it's so beautiful because I can hear the difference in your voice when you're talking about things that you actually care about. Like
Oh.
it's beautiful and it's like fire. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like, oh, I'm being warmed by this because no, she means this, right? And there's so many parts of ourselves that we push down because it's like not seen as acceptable to be or to talk about or to deeply dive into or to like be obsessed with, right? Like to be taken with. It's like, oh, this stuff has to be for play or for extra. And maybe I'll sprinkle a little bit of this in there, but it's like, no, who you are, like purely like the child version of you is the medicine that we need. Like
Yeah.
we need that passion. We need you to follow those things that you think are silly. You know what I'm saying? We need an adult finger painting class. Okay?
Hmm.
Like no matter how ridiculous it sounds, we need it. And every year there's like new studies to show actually being more childlike gives you a longer life.
Yeah.
Like makes
Uh-huh.
you happier, builds better connections, makes you a joy to be around because when you're miserable, right? Nobody wants to
Yeah.
be around you. You don't even want to be around you. Like
You
because that's
don't
not
even
who
want to
you
be around
are.
you.
Yes. Because you're putting on an act all day,
That's true.
you
Ooh,
know? But yeah.
that's so true. And those parts of ourselves don't go away quietly,
No.
right? When we
Mm-mm.
try to like shut it off, like, okay, I'm not gonna write anymore. I'm just gonna like be in spreadsheets all day.
Yeah.
That was like my spirit was like hurting from that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, it's like your gifts have to come through,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you don't allow them to, when you're in structures that tell you that it's not important, that it's silly, like just focus on being an adult.
Yeah.
And that's a whole conversation, right? Just cutting ourselves off when we become adults, in quotes, cutting
Yeah.
off the like everything that happened in our life before that point. And we're just expected to be like just sprouting up out of the ground new.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, no,
That's
that's
not how
not
that
how
works.
things work. Yeah.
No.
And so just to hear, like, I think you called it, like, was it a hearing ceremony?
Yes, yes, a hearing ceremony.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I
That's
like
that's beautiful,
we
right?
should offer,
Because
yes.
yeah, we come here knowing exactly who we are, and just to go back and realize that there were things before colonization that allowed us to lean into our gifts. Because a lot of us only have like a frame of reference of life post-colonization. And we think that that's how things always have been. But going back and like retrieving those parts in those practices, we realize that there was a way for us to lean into our gifts and live fully in those before this evil experiment of colonization happened.
Evil experiment. That's
Yeah,
exactly what it is, and it's failing. But yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And you also said something a while back about imagination, right? We're living in someone's imagination. So for you to view your imagination as silly or not worthy of exploring, you're living in someone else's imagination. And so what makes their imagination more powerful than
Exactly.
yours,
Exactly. Yep.
right?
Only some people are allowed to dream. Only some people are allowed to fail. Only some people are allowed to go bankrupt, right? In pursuit of their dreams. Like there's a lot of shaming put in place, especially for people who are, on the fringes, right? Like there's not a lot of room for failure because you're already seen as an outcast. And so this idea of like dreaming, oh, that's for rich people. That's for, like this, like it's a privileged thing to dream, to have an imagination, to be able to exercise that imagination. Because a lot of people, if you can't imagine what you're going to eat tonight, your imagination can't go very far, right? Like
Yes.
because you're
Yeah,
stuck with survival. And I really do think that they put us in survival mode on purpose so we can't imagine. So we
it's
can't
true.
dream.
Yep.
We're not even being nourished. Like we're not getting the nutrition we need. How are we going to dream when I'm tired all day because all I can eat is noodles,
Yeah,
right? Like it's such a it's a genius, like an evil genius. It's a
it
genius
is.
way of controlling people.
Yeah.
So even as I said earlier, like, oh, it's failing, the experiment is failing. It's not. This is how they wanted it, right?
Yeah.
um and I think that's the depressing part, is that it's they can't even see how it's going to destroy them. That's how short-sighted they are. That's how
Mm,
unimaginative they are. It's going to destroy them as well, you know.
absolutely. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because we all inhabit the same planet.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I've been wondering lately, like, to what end is this capitalism thing going to? Because we know that capitalism is not sustainable. As a
It's not.
system, you cannot continue extracting from the earth indefinitely. Like, that's not how that works. There are limited resources. Um, yeah,
Especially as fast as they keep taking these resources, right? They leave no time for regeneration, for rest, not even the land. Like they didn't just enslave people, they enslaved the land. Like to have to keep
yeah.
producing, like they're like our wording the land. You know what I'm saying? Like they're
Mm-hmm.
forcing the land to be productive. They're forced, just like how they would force women's bodies to be productive, right? Like they're
Ooh,
forcing the land. And like at some point the land is going to be like,
yeah.
enough, because you don't respect me, you don't honor
Mm-hmm.
me, you don't honor the people that I take care of, you just like you use my resources to murder people that I love.
Yeah.
Like come on, like there's no way. Like, and again, some people don't believe in spiritual things. That's fine, I very much do, and at some point the tab has to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
to think that you're going to escape that is wild. I
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Mm.
And just like the colonizer mindset, right? You don't respect the land. You can't. You view it as a way to continue extracting, as a way to gain more power. And just everything on it is like a hindrance to you getting there, right? We see that with development of cities, of city planning, me working in that, seeing just how little regard for natural resources and viewing things the term underdeveloped, right, or undeveloped. The earth can never be underdeveloped or undeveloped. We rely on
Hello.
the earth for our lives to continue,
Yes.
like that entire term in the way that, yeah, cities are planned and
Mm-hmm.
ooh, zoning.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That's real. That's
It's
real.
it's so arrogant and it's such a lie. Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't develop anything, you destroy. You understand that like
Mm.
you're destroying the earth, right? Like even I think about like all the paved roads, how many gardens and farms could we have like under how much fertile ground is underneath this concrete? The like
Ooh, that's a
that
whole word.
how like what? What do you mean
Wow.
underdeveloped? The earth is rich, okay?
Yeah.
The earth is rich, and we could be working with the earth to create livable places for everybody where everybody can be safe and everybody can thrive, right? But even when you mention about think about like natural resources and things like that, the beach, the beach, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of our oxygen comes from the beach, comes from the ocean. That like
Mm-hmm.
there are studies on how like being near water is healing. Like
Yeah.
and so all this property is bought up for people's vacation and peace of mind, while the people
Oh,
who live there can't
yep.
even get their peace of mind that they that literally belongs to them, right? This relationship that they are in, like this relationship that belongs to them. Like somebody has
Yeah.
intruded and impeded, like has interrupted that relationship to place hotels and all these other things there. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just
Yep.
amazing to me like to see people and at some point you have to wonder about people's humanity because there's no way like we should
You
all
do.
be angrier than what we are. We should
Mm-hmm.
all be raging and burning down stuff, destroying
Right.
things that are destroying us. Like I saw this picture of like a wind turbine in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of like like the country like where they farm things, and there was a
Yeah.
turbine, and underneath the shadow of this turbine was like a whole flock of lamb, like of yeah, I think they were lamb, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But or sheep, they were sheep, and there were no trees. And we don't think about so they had to find shelter under something man-made to cool themselves
Wow.
off. Like this is the violence that we are doing not only to ourselves and our fellow man, but the creatures of the earth. Like
Yeah.
we're destroying the habitats of so many animals that we actually rely on, that we
Mm-hmm.
don't care about. Like
Right.
people, we're talking about like bees and how the bee population. Good thing though, here's some good news. The bee population is rising, so that's exciting. But like it was going
Mm.
down for a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, and this is also speaks about the power of people because the word got around that it was declining, and people were like, "Oh, let me plant some wildflowers. Let me, do these things. Let me stop using this pesticide. These kinds of things, right?" Anyway, so the bee population was declining. If the bees die, guess what? You don't get your fruits and vegetables. Guess what? Like the whole thing
Mm.
collapses. But people don't
Yeah.
have a collective way of thinking, right? I am kin to the bee. I am kin
Yeah.
to the fly. I am kin to the mosquito. I am kin to the sheep, right? Like, and so if I am a guest here on this earth, right? Like, because I am a guest, at some point, like, at some point, I have to consider everything that's going on around me, like, even in a selfish way, because it's all going to come back to me. It's like all the
Mm-hmm.
harm that I put out is going to come directly back to me. And like people don't really consider that or understand. And they also don't care. There's that. A lot of people just don't care. Um,
That's true.
but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thinking about everything that we do, every action that we take has an impact on something or someone, right, in our environment. It's just the ways of the teachings of colonization that we're all individuals, right? We're literally all of us depend on each other for our survival collectively.
Yep.
Um, and it's just unlearning that really
Yeah.
deep conditioning that we're
Yeah.
all just here individually and we don't have to care about each other and what happens to
Hmm.
each other. That's
You must
powerful. Yeah.
you must be in my notebook. I literally wrote that down right before we started recording. Like everything we do impacts everything else.
Yeah.
Every good and bad. Every like
Yeah.
if I release a piece of plastic, it's gonna go out and might get caught in the rain and go down the drain and into the bay and then into the ocean and then into some sort of like turtle's mouth because it thinks it's a jellyfish. Like everything we do has an impact on the earth. And we need to start walking and operating like it does, being more intentional with what we say, our choices that we make, right? And I also understand, and this is also when we're talking about freedom, having choice is a privilege, right? So even the
Hmm.
idea of using like sustainable things, that costs money. Like
It
a lot of
does.
people can't use the sustainable thing. It's almost like we have the
Uh,
illusion of choice. We can't afford to be sustainable. Like because you make the
yeah.
sustainable stuff like impossible to afford. I don't have the money for that. I don't have the money to keep buying organic. I don't have the money
Yeah.
to get the stuff without the filler in it. I don't have the money because you keep giving poor people bad things. Like it's
Yeah.
so the moral. So that's why I never. This is why I want to be clear. I understand that it takes privilege, right? And when I have those privileges, I take them. And I also understand that in some ways I don't have a lot of privileges, and I do the best that I can with what I got. You know what I'm saying? And so
Hmm.
I think wherever you are, like socially, socioeconomically, it doesn't matter, right? Like we all have something that we can do. It just might look different than other people. So for me, maybe I don't have access to organic stuff, but I can be kind to my neighbor. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't
Hmm.
ask them how they're doing. I can't help somebody with their groceries. Like I can do something, right? Like that is kind and that gives back and helps me to put in to the collective what I've taken because much like you, like I don't believe in self-made anything. That doesn't
Hmm.
exist. Like I am because of the bus driver. I am because of the teacher. I am because of the janitor. The janitor is the
Yeah.
first responder. The
Hmm.
janitor is the first line of defense against diseases and illnesses. And I work in hospitals. They are the heroes, right? Like
Yeah.
they're the ones cleaning up bodily fluid. They're the ones
Yeah.
protecting us from getting sick. And so,
Hmm.
like, when we start to walk through the world, like, you are kin to me, you are friend to me, right? I feel like that's how we start to improve the world, period. Just see people as human, like, as a reflection of you. That's it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I love that. I love that.
Thanks for listening to me.
Of course. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
I did want to ask you, right, as the descendants of ancestors who had their freedom deliberately restricted through enslavement, how can we use our freedom now, to keep their stories alive? And then what is the power of generational storytelling, in your opinion? We see your podcast episodes on lessons from the ancestors that have been so deeply healing for a lot of us. So yeah, anything you'd like to share around generational storytelling and how we can keep our ancestors' stories alive?
Yeah. Funerals are always they're always hard times. I don't know, I feel myself getting emotional, but like whenever I say ancestor, hear that word, I think of there's like a hall of fame for me.
Yeah,
And the hall of fame are like, family that I miss and that I love who are no longer earthside with me. And
yeah,
it's always difficult, like trying to make sense of the fact that the person that you've known your entire life is no longer here. Like that does
yeah,
not compute. It doesn't make sense. And so I don't think that death is ever supposed to make sense, to be quite honest with you. Especially the way that we deal with death is very like a cold thing. They're gone. They're just not here anymore.
very. Yeah.
But I think that stepping into, I guess, like more spiritual approach. One of my favorite things about funerals is the storytelling. The My family
Mm.
gets together and we don't even do it intentionally, it just happens because we're all kind of like dealing with this loss and we don't know
Right.
what to do with it, and we have these fragments of people that we love,
Yeah.
and we come together and we storytell, we put the fragments together to put the picture together. And telling stories about people who are no longer here keeps their legacy alive and it keeps them in the room with us. We put the picture together, and now when we leave from this funeral, we all have different pieces. Sorry. Ooh.
No, no, no. You're fine. Sending you a hug virtually. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
It's a happy cry, right? Because we leave with different pieces of them than we had before, right? Like we have a different perspective of them. Like we got together for my aunt Eunice passed away last
Hmm.
year, and that was rough because she was like our matriarch. She was the last connection to my grandmother and my great grandmother of that generation of people. And we were talking about my great grandmother, my granny. And so when I met her, she was an old lady. She was short. She was very sweet and just sweet and just adorable.
Yeah.
Apparently, before I got to Earth, she was a lot spicier when she was younger. And it's just amazing like to hear that, and I'm just sitting in awe listening to her because I only had about 12 years with this woman.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and it obviously, like, no time is ever enough. But I only had
Yeah.
12 years of this woman in a later stage in her life. And so it was beautiful to be able to hear the stories of when my mom was a kid and that was her grandmother, and how differently she acted with her and how she'd be yelling and fussing at them. And it just
Yeah.
like humanizes them, right? And it's like
Yeah.
literally like the act of remembering, like we are remembering them together, like we're putting them back together again when we tell their story, when we share
Wow.
anecdotes, we're bringing them back into the room with us, right? And so I think the way that we deal with death is very cold and like, oh, don't talk about it. I don't want to cry about it anymore. But it's like, no, like keep crying, keep talking about them. Like it makes sense. It makes sense to cry. It makes
Hmm.
sense to feel so deeply about people who meant so much to you. And I think even when I think about freedom, freedom to express yourself and freedom to be weak, using air quotes, and to be tender and to fall apart,
Right.
and to be able to be held up by either family or friends, and to be able to remember, like put together again this person that you miss. And I think that's also the beautiful thing, is that like that's why community is so important, because we only have one relationship with someone, but other people have different relationships with them, and like they're able to see the different facets that we might not be able to see. And
That's
so we
true.
can more we can better see them when we come together, and we also serve each other in that way in our grief, where we nod in approval and we say, oh yeah, I do remember that. We affirm and we keep that memory alive, and it doesn't become some distant faded memory. Like they're with us right now. Another way that I um another way that I like to like keep them alive is like feeling.
Yeah.
It's like you said, I have a podcast, and I've been talking about lessons from my ancestors, just like writing down things that I learned from them or things that I experienced, because I never really considered that. What did I learn from them? What generational blessings have they given me? Right? Like what is the good stuff? And also like what is the hard stuff that I have to work through? But some of the stuff that I feel like I'm left to work through is the feeling, the rage, the anger, the sorrow, the grief
Yeah.
that a lot of my family before me, like further up my family tree, weren't able to feel and process during their lifetime. I'm a very sensitive person, and my
Yeah.
mother's a very sensitive person, and apparently our grandmother was a very sensitive person. And I feel like that sensitivity is an invitation to feel and to
Hmm.
process. And I do feel like there's generational stuff that I'm healing just by weeping, by weeping unapologetically, right? Like I say sorry because it interrupts my flow of speech, right? Because when I cry, I can't, I'm not very good at talking through crying. But like, I'm not sorry that I cried. I love that I cried, because I love that I'm able to express myself freely in a way that my ancestors could not. There was no room for their tender feelings. There was no room. Like, even though they always found certain ways, but my family is very funny. Like
Hmm.
they use joking as a way to cope, and like, teasing each other.
Yeah.
But they're not very tender. I don't know if that, like, they're not very tender. And so
Hmm.
growing up, they would make fun of me because I was so sensitive. But I feel like low key they love it, because I'm the person they come to when they fall apart. I'm the person
Yeah.
that they feel free enough to cry in front of. And if that is my role, to be able to give people a portal into themselves, right? Like to be able to take off all that armor and all the costuming that we do, and the pretending, then bless it. I'm grateful. You know what I'm saying? Like if that's the work that I have to do, then wonderful, because though it's off-putting, I think at first for some people, they're like, oh, why are you sharing so much? Why are you not ashamed? Almost like they want to ask me. I'm like, ashamed for what? For being human, for feeling? And I think on some level it kind of disarms people, which I'm hoping it does. And I'm just like, be free. Like be free to be angry, be free to like people will say things to me like, oh, this person did this to me, but I don't really care. And I'm like, yes, you do. And it's okay. Cause that's effed up. Like
Hmm.
having somebody to be like, no, you should care about that. And you're not immature for feeling your feelings or being frustrated. Like stop gaslighting yourself into not feeling. I think that's
Ooh.
how we start healing, but also changing things. Feel that anger and that rage. Feel how unfair it is to not be able to stand on the corner and not be bothered. Feel that. Like those feelings are there for a reason. And when they cut us off from our feeling, like they cut us off from ourselves and the truth, So there's freedom in feeling. So
That's
yeah.
true. Yeah. And that's been one of the things, right? Just being in the environments that I grew up in, I kind of had to cut the feeling parts of myself off so often. And like being in your communities and like you slowly coaching us through like, feel, it's okay.
Oh
It's okay.
yeah.
The world's not going to crumble.
No.
That has been something new for me. right? Because
Mm-hmm.
it's still very scary. It's like, can I allow myself to feel angry? But
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you have to feel your feelings to get to the truth.
Yes.
Like you have
Yes.
to.
You have to. You have to. It's often not convenient and it's often heartbreaking, right?
Yeah.
And that work is heavy work to do. To feel is heavy work. Like it takes
Yeah.
bravery to feel and to feel deeply. And sometimes it can leave you exhausted, but like there are literal physical ramifications for you holding in your feelings. Death,
Hmm.
sickness, stroke, right? But ultimately, like I said, death. Like that, like not just physical death, but death like to yourself, right? Like you have to keep yourself alive, you have to keep feeling. You have to keep yourself human and humane. You have to keep feeling. To be considerate, you have to keep feeling. Apathy is not going to save you. Like apathy is not going to save anybody.
Hmm.
And I think that the way that the West gets away, excuse me, with so much stuff, like along with power, is apathy, like the
That's
uncaring.
true.
Like no, like we should, like I said, we should all be pissed off. We
Hmm.
should all be in that rage, and not saying that everybody has to storm the street or everybody has to run for, city council or something. No, like you can feel the rage and create music. You can feel the rage and create a podcast. You can feel the rage and be kind. Like that rage can be the fire that kind of is lit under your butt to like do something about it,
Hmm.
whatever that is, you know?
Yeah. And I think about how many of us are in survival mode, like we talked about before. And with feeling so inconvenient, right now I got to deal with these feelings. Like I'm trying to go like on this really rigid schedule
Yeah.
that I didn't agree to, but I'm just kind of forced into. Like, how do I have time to feel
Mm-hmm.
and sit
Mm-hmm.
with what I'm feeling?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like that's on purpose.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Exhausting us so we can't feel, or
Hmm.
making it impossible to find a therapist so we can't even talk about our feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
or even, and that's why I've been having a lot of feelings about like addiction
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
how we demonize addiction or people who are addicted. And
Yeah.
I was watching an interview, oh my gosh, and I cannot remember her name. I'm gonna look it up while I talk about it. But she was
Hmm.
talking about addiction and how her thoughts about addiction are completely different, because how else are people supposed to cope? Like
It's true.
what what
Yeah.
are like what are we doing? Like people are escaping because same. I might
Yes.
not be addicted to opioids. I might not be addicted to crack cocaine. I might not be addicted to, other things, right? But I might be addicted to my phone. I might be addicted to scrolling social media
Hmm.
to escape, right? We're
Yeah.
all looking for escape because we're living in hell. So it makes
Yeah.
sense to me why people are addicted. It makes sense. It makes sense to me, like, and also like addiction is also like a classism issue too, because hello, like I live in DC. There are a
Hmm.
lot of functional drunks here. This is
Yeah.
just an objective, okay, perspective.
Yeah.
I am not a counselor. Listen, I'm just a regular human being. Happy hour. What do you think that's about? What do you think?
Hmm.
Why do you think people feel the need to
Wow.
always go to happy hour after work?
Happy hour. Mm.
Happy hour. Like this is the time. Yeah, it's a social aspect to it and you want to see your friends and things like that, but a lot of us are drinking away our sorrow. A lot of us are
It's
drinking
true.
to numb our frustrations and our pain, and like have a breath of like, oh thank God, for this 1 hour I don't have to think about the commute or my job. Like I can just be human. We're all looking for an escape, right? And for some people who don't have money, they might choose an escape that you might not, because you have power and access to things that they
Hmm.
don't. And so for me to look down on anybody struggling with addiction, like, would be hypocritical. It like, because
Yeah.
that's the problem, is not the addiction. The problem is what's causing the person to want to self-harm or self-medicate in this way in the first place, right? So they're surviving, they're doing the best they can. And I think about my ancestors, again, smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
They're stressed out. What do you want them to
Hmm.
do? Like what? Like they're
Yeah.
stressed. What else are they supposed to do? They got 9 kids. They're stressed out. They're poor. Okay. Like they're taking care of their elders. Like what are we supposed to do? Yes, they're going to drag their cigarette. Absolutely. Because that's the only thing they had that's keeping them a little bit sane,
Right.
you know?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
anyway.
In listening to your recent video, I think on generational blessings,
Yeah.
um, kind of led me to explore like my own childhood, right, in
Mhm.
history, seeing people in my family be addicted,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and just unpacking that. And it's hard because I was traumatized by these things as a
Mm-hmm.
child, right? And that has informed how I operate in adulthood, but also having grace and understanding now that I am an adult and realizing how evil
Yeah. Yeah.
this world that we are in, how much pressure
Mm-hmm.
exists from multiple angles,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of having that softness, like that was their way to cope,
Yeah.
right? Without any, like you said, therapy resources, that can be a whole other conversation of
Yeah.
the things that we don't have access to as we should,
Mm-hmm.
by design,
Mm-hmm.
like things like therapy. And I will link therapy resources in the description section too.
Oh, thank you.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
realizing that that
Yeah.
was their way to cope, that has been healing for me
Mm.
and kind of allowed me to release some of the anger that I've been holding on to because of what I experienced in childhood surrounding people who I
Mm-hmm.
loved and who I looked up to
Mm-hmm.
struggling with addiction. Yeah,
Yeah. And I do want to say, like, I'm also not saying to, like, people who are addicted still cause harm, right? And it's okay
true.
to acknowledge
Yeah.
that. Like, two things can be true at the same time. Multiple things can be true at the same time. Okay. Like, shout out to you. Okay.
Hmm.
Multiple things can be true at the same time. It's
Hmm.
like, yes,
Yeah.
this person is oppressed and they're using drugs to escape. And also, I am harmed by seeing them in this state. I am harmed by what they might do to acquire the things that they wanna use, right? Like, it's so I'm hurt by how they treated me, how they spoke to me, but also,
Hmm.
like, I
Yeah.
understand that it's not about me, right? Like, it's not that life's not about you, but, like, what they're going through is about what they're going through.
It's
And I
true.
and I think for me, it's like, when I got there, not saying that I didn't take it personal, because it is personal, right? It's somebody that I love. Like, I don't like when people
Hmm.
say, like, it's not personal. It is personal. Like, I love them. And also,
Right.
like, it's not, I don't have to center myself in their addiction. Like,
Yeah.
they need to be centered, and they need help, and they need resources. So it's like, we want to get people off drugs. Great. Where are the programs that are going to set them up for good jobs? And, like, them being sober is not going to change capitalism. Like, the things that make them stressed out in the first place, like them being sober, like, what are the real issues that
Hmm.
people are trying to escape from? Like, that's, you know what I'm saying? That's a question to ask, but we can also honor the wounds that we have acquired dealing with people who are coping, because those are real too.
Absolutely. Yeah, they are. And even thinking about childhood trauma,
Mm-hmm.
right? Our brains can only process the things that are happening around us as it being our fault
Mm-hmm.
at such an
Absolutely.
early age. So when we do
Yes.
experience caregivers having addiction issues, immediately we turn
Mm-hmm.
to ourselves. What did I do to
Yeah.
cause it?
Yeah.
Because that's the only way that our brains can process information at such a young age. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's real. Kind of realizing that they're human too, right? They were children at one point too, and what did they go through and what are they still dealing with in adulthood that is leading them to make these decisions and realizing they impacted me in my
Mm-hmm.
development at the same time. We can
Yes.
hold space for multiple truths.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. I would like to ask you about being an idealist, as I've
Yeah.
heard you refer to yourself before. So getting back to freedom in an ideal society, what would freedom look like to you?
Mm. So I literally want to do an episode where I talk about, like, in an ideal world, or like a series, right?
Yeah.
Because in an ideal society, like, scarcity would not exist, because the earth is not scarce. We are not scarce. So there would
No,
be no need to create scarcity to make money, because what would we need money for if we just shared? So anyway, in an ideal
true.
society, the opportunity to dedicate your life's working hours to things that you actually care about, like, everybody would have an opportunity to do that. Not like, oh, I earned enough time. I paid my debt, and now I can actually um now I can actually be free, because what I realized, like, working in America is indentured servitude. That's all it
Hmm.
is, right? You're working for your freedom, where, like, in an ideal society, you would just be born free. You would just be
Yeah.
born free. You would born having options, and your zip code, who your parents are, what your gender expression is, what color your skin is,
Yeah.
like, none of that would have any say on how far you can go, or how many odds are stacked against you. So in an ideal society, that would happen. yeah, I think about like fruit trees, like just regular stuff. Like fruit trees would be available on every corner and sidewalk so people can eat. Because why not?
I love that.
Right? Like fruit trees or like
Yeah.
gardens. I love the idea of like a front, like I've been watching a lot of what's like homesteading stuff. And I
Hmm.
love the idea of like everybody having a front yard instead of like having like a manicured lawn. Like what if everybody had a garden where everybody can like,
Ooh.
right? And like people walking down the street can get something to eat and like thanks so much for the pepper and I'll offer you something in return, right? And
Hmm.
it doesn't have to be something returned, but because I'm grateful, like I think at the end of the day, I think an ideal world would be a world where we don't need pain as a motivator for people. Like
Ooh.
we are so obsessed with pain and punishment. Like we are obsessed. Like
Hmm.
we talk about what people deserve and how I don't like how we don't owe people anything and how you have to earn my respect and you have like it's very like or even like the threat of death or homelessness is the reason why a lot of people are still in the jobs that they're in. Like we wouldn't need that as like a threat for people to be able to do what they want to do. Like we were you were there, but on one of my lives somebody had mentioned like, oh, capitalism is this great thing because it provides opportunities and innovation. No, it doesn't. Capitalism limits,
Hmm.
and so like so capitalism puts a cap on things. It destroys other things. It not only it's not about competition but about like the utter like destruction of other
Hmm.
things for things to survive. And I think if we were free in an ideal world, we would be motivated by joy and passion and love and
Yeah.
expansiveness, abundance, connection, community. Like communalism is what I imagine. Like just burning down this whole thing and starting over with treating people with kindness and care and just being thoughtful of the global collective and not just oh my nation, my city, my state. But no, like the entire world, because hello, this is a group project. And if
It
one of us fails, we
is.
all fail.
It
So
is. That's
yes.
so true.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love that because there are actually examples of that we can go back to and gain from, right? To create something new. A lot of the times people will be like, well, this never existed before. You're only thinking within the context of post, right, colonialism. That's all you're thinking about. Because before that, there were thousands of communal societies that existed, especially when we're talking about what we now term as a North American continent,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
Um, Prior to European invaders
Mm-hmm.
coming over, thousands of indigenous nations existed using a more communal style of governance and societal functioning.
Yes.
So
And
we
it
can go back
worked.
and reclaim that knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, it worked well.
Yeah.
It didn't require lack for people to thrive. Imagine that.
Imagine that.
Mm-mm-mm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would love to ask some of your historical or contemporary figures that inspire you in the context of freedom. Also, who are your freedom inspirations?
Yes, thanks for asking. So I do have inspirations like, Audre Lorde, Trisha Hersey, Bell Hooks. Bell Hooks is a person, and I feel like this is like the standard. Like, okay, like this is the introduction to, like womanism and okay, girl, we get it. But no, like I love them because like they're so honest. Like
Yeah,
they don't mask, they don't hold their punches. Like they mean what they say. They speak so passionately or write, using writing as their speaking voice. They speak so passionately and they make no apologies for it. They're queer, they don't quite fit. You know what I'm saying? Like they're kind of
right.
like on the outside
Hmm.
looking in, and I appreciate people like that because like sometimes I be thinking, am I going insane? Like what is going
Yeah.
am I
Th-
doing too much? And like
Listen, that is so real when you're the only one kind of, or one of few, right, in the environment that you're
yeah.
in. You can be like, am
Mm-hmm.
I losing my mind thinking these
Yes.
things? Yeah,
Yes.
that's so
Yes.
real.
Because it's like sometimes it feels like the rage can be all consuming and it's just like no girl, you just see right and you need to balance it out with joy of course, but like I love their writing. Bell Hooks is complicated for me specifically because there's some things I'd be like, this feels this feels
Hmm.
interesting, but like what I love about Bell Hooks is her being vulnerable enough to be like, I want love and I want love so desperately. And
Yeah.
not
Hmm.
feeling weak for that, not feel like owning that. Like, no, like I want to be loved. And here's what's possible with love. And like here, like just going like so deep in it and
Hmm.
facing even things that I'm afraid to talk about on some level. Like
Right.
talking about her relationship with her mom, right? Like you can't do
Yeah.
that. You know what I'm saying? Like that's not allowed, right?
Yeah.
But because they're so vulnerable, they've been able to set so many people free. People have resonated with, like, I might not say that out loud, but I agree with you. Like, because I feel like there's so many people who, because of where they work or, you know, who they live with, they're not able to say the things that they really want to say. And so like people that are the weirdos and you know, like the outsiders, they're able to voice things for people in a way that they would never be able to voice. And so these people, you know, historical in my mind, like Audre Lorde, Trisha Hersey, she's still alive, so that's contemporary. But like Bell Hooks, I also wrote down Rachel Cargill. Recently got
Hmm.
introduced to her from the summit, the
Yeah.
Exodus Summit. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
and read her book, a Renaissance all our own,
Yeah. Hmm.
and the she has at every section she has questions and things to ask. And so one of the questions is like, what are your values, like what are your values, and living your life through the lens of through the filter, excuse me, of those values. And I'm like, wow, I never considered that, like I can value something that somebody else doesn't, and I still pursue that thing for myself and still prioritize that thing. Alex L is somebody I look up to as a writer.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
I really enjoy her work and her honesty, her encouragement of other people. Um, there's also, okay, so I found also Lamar. She is 60
60 solo
solo.
mystic traveler.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
When I tell you, okay, inspired, like
Hmm.
just the vulnerability, the openness,
Yeah.
her embodying herself like fully and
Yeah.
like taking her time with it. You feel me? Like not
Yes.
trying to be palatable. Like that's not what I'm here for. And also like if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. That's not my problem.
Hmm.
Like love that freedom. Love it. And she actually introduced me to someone else called like the slum flower. Her name is like
Oh yeah.
Chitty. Yeah,
Hmm.
okay, yes, yes. So I got her book when I was younger called like What a Time to Be Alone, but I didn't know, I guess I didn't put it together. I'm like, oh, that's who that is. The Slumflower Hour is a podcast that she puts on, and it is so like it's so good. Like good is
Hmm.
not obvious. English is awful, but like it is so
Yeah.
like unapologetically like, no, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, it is your pleasure to be in my company. And I love that
Oh, I
because
love
yeah,
that.
period. And I love that
Hmm.
because it's like as a woman, we are not socialized in that way. Like
No,
we're not told, oh, you can take up space. What?
no,
You set the standards. You demand what's best for you. You stop, you don't have to play small. You don't have to shrink. No, like women are told to shrink every day. And like
every
being
day.
in the presence of people who challenge me to expand and to be seen and to own what I said, love that.
Right.
I love that. But most importantly, like it's women like you. It's women that I'm
Oh,
actually in
thank
community
you.
with. Of
I have
course.
you on my list too.
I'm honored, honestly,
Yeah.
like being around women like who are unafraid. And not I don't even say unafraid because I feel like in a lot of ways, like people say that about me. I'm like, no, I'm scared. Like I'm actually very
Mhm.
much afraid, right? But being brave enough to feel, to show the process, to set other people free, to share their experiences, to validate the experiences of other people, to platform other people, because this world will tell us like, oh, don't collaborate because you want all the glory yourself, or if you ask for help then it's a
Mm.
bad thing. And I'm seeing women every day collaborating and being like, forget that, girl, come over here and talk about this.
Exactly.
What? Like there's enough for all of us. And when we all win, like
Yes.
when we all
Hmm.
win. So yeah, yeah, I'm just, there's so many people and there's so many people popping up that I can't keep count. I can't.
Hmm.
So that's a good thing though. It's a good thing. Yeah. So thanks for
Yeah,
asking. Yeah, yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think about like the power of collaboration and also like people trying to stop collaboration, right? By telling us again the scarcity messaging. There's only a few
Yep.
spaces it's like, and I think about my time in corporate, right? And I see all the people at the top look exactly the same. I'm like, how is
Hmm.
there enough space for all of them who look like carbon copies, but not us?
Hello.
Like, no, that's a lie. And so it has been amazing to see collaborations just being on YouTube. I feel like YouTube has
Hmm.
just changed my life, right?
Yes.
Seeing people working on the same things,
Hmm.
coming together to grow their audiences simultaneously and reaching
Hmm.
so many more people and rejecting the idea of competition at every turn. It's like, no, we're not buying
Yeah.
into that.
No.
No,
Like we don't have time. Like we really we don't have time for it. Like
no.
that's I think that's one of my frustrations with like feminism specifically.
Hmm.
Um it's about I don't want to be boss. I don't want to be
Mm-mm.
what?
No.
Like I don't want to compete with my sister. That's silly. Like
Yeah,
I don't want to be at odds with somebody or see somebody as competition and not community. That's dehumanizing of like
it
for
is.
myself and other people. And like that's also like a short-sighted game because
Hmm.
at the end of the day, like we've talked about this before, like I'm not necessarily money motivated. I need
No.
money.
Mm-mm.
Like I'm money motivated in terms of like I'm traumatized by capitalism, but like
Yeah.
I'm not in my soul. I don't care about no green paper. This is stupid.
Hmm.
What that got to do with me? Like
Yeah.
what that got to do like and at the heart of the things that I want to do that I share with other people is I want to help people. I want to express myself. So like what is the best way to help people is to collaborate, is to work
Yes.
with because I'm only one person and I can only see one way. I only have one experience, right? Like it's beautiful to add the experiences and the expressions of other people that color it for you and that show you your blind spots. And a lot of us don't want to see our blind spots. We want to be the authority. But who said that you had to be the authority to make change? Nobody. You don't.
Ooh.
You can be learning in real time and set other people free. I'm proof of it, okay? Because I am not wherever there is. And like, I'm learning something new every day. And some woman specifically is teaching me something new every day. And I love that. And like how greater and how greater it is to like open yourself up to collaboration or to connection to other people like
Hmm.
and to also be able to rest under their creation like we think that it's so powerful to like have the answers for everything and to be the person that's exhausting.
It
It's
is.
tiring,
Yeah.
right? What I love being able to, figuratively sit under a tree, under a shade, well, maybe in real life, sit under a tree and listen to the wisdom of women. I have a whole playlist called Black Woman Wisdom where I listen to
Ooh.
the words of
Hmm.
Black women because they are
Wow.
powerful, they are medicinal, they are wise, and it resonates with me. Like, yes, you have the words for exactly what I was feeling. Yes, and it keeps me straight. It keeps me from feeling like I'm losing my mind because other people get it, other people see it. You
Right.
know. So yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. And I feel like we're in this relay race, right? And we need time to pass the baton to other people behind us. You can't be running the entire race
Yes.
yourself, right?
Come
You need people to
on.
pass it to you, and you pass it to them. It's kind of like a collaborative exercise, especially
Yeah.
as a lot of us are thinking the same things,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have unique gifts that it manifests in different ways, right? The
Mm-hmm.
messages that we're all collectively realizing. It's beautiful
Yeah.
to see it come together like a mosaic.
Yes, yes, exactly. And I love the imagery that you talk about passing the baton, right? It's like
Hmm.
it's so powerful because we really have to one, there are a lot of layers, right? Because ageism is a thing, right? And so
Yes.
we
Hmm.
think that if we grow older, then we're no longer relevant because men deem us irrelevant, right? White men
Yes.
specifically. But
Yeah.
patriarchy says, "Oh, the older women get, the less you matter." And
Mm.
and so a lot of people keep holding on to that baton even when they know they want to let it go because who am I without being seen? Who am I without this thing? In an ideal world, we would honor our elders. We would honor them. I'm fine with like even as I'm saying like facing my own ego, right? Like being afraid of being irrelevant as
Yeah.
as I'm entering my mid 30s and like people are saying, oh, if you're mid 30s and you're then patriarchy, you've hit the wall and
Oh,
all that, like you're irrelevant. Like no,
yeah.
I'm not. Boo boo, because my granny was 89 years old when she passed away, and
Hmm.
I sat at that woman's feet and listened to everything she said to me. Like,
Yeah.
and I believe that like if we do the work, like ageism is so cruel because everybody ages, Lord willing, right? Like everybody ages. And how we treat our elders now determines how we will be treated when we become elders. And so,
True.
like, I don't mind being the foundation as long as I'm taken care of, okay, by the people
Mm-hmm.
coming after me, right? So, like, there's a lot of work that needs to be done around our aging population, like, because I don't even want to use language that comes off as like dismissive, because a lot of like using quotes like okay boomer, like it's so dismissive and so dehumanizing.
Yeah.
And like I get it as a joke, but it still really is like, wow, like how many people are you offending by saying that?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and then also like you're already putting, so by saying okay boomer, you're putting boomers on defense, and so they don't even want to change because you have disrespected them, right?
Right.
So like
Yeah.
this, our intergenerational relationships are so important. And so yes, like there will be someone who hopefully sees my work and takes off running with it.
Mm-hmm.
Please take it farther than what I can, because my life is on this side of earth is finite. I can only do so
Yeah.
much, right? I would hope that even after I'm gone from here, that somebody is still referencing my work like I'm referencing Audre Lorde. I don't know if Audre Lorde knew that she would be as impactful as she is now. I have no
Mm-hmm.
idea. I don't know if Bell Hooks even knew, or even Trisha Hersey when she started her own things, right? I'm looking at this list of people,
Yeah.
but they did the work because it mattered, right? And now people are taking their work and building on it. Like I'm writing writings based off of the works of these people. Like I'm making music inspired by them. Like they're we just have to honor our roots. And the problem is that in the West, we don't. We don't honor our roots. We don't honor, nothing is sacred under capitalism. But like, especially our elders, especially the wisdom. Because even when we say like, okay, boomer, boomers are the ones that got y'all here where y'all are today. So for y'all
Mm-hmm.
to disrespect them is crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's wild. Yes, we might disagree politically. Yes, they might have some problematic thoughts and views and opinions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so do we. And so will the generations. Generation Alpha will be saying the same things about us that we said about boomers, right? Like so I think it's just like this understanding that I think even with my own aunts and uncles and things like that, like I've been looking to them as the wisdom, and I'm realizing, oh, the baton is being passed. Like
Mm-hmm.
they're
Yeah.
tired. They're exhausted actually. And even what comes across to me as like, oh, you're just being stuck in your ways. It's like, no, like they're tired. They have done so much. They have done so much adjusting, okay, and so much unlearning.
Yeah.
Um, and now they've passed that wisdom on, and I'm not going to spit in their face because they disagree with me on the subject. I can just okay, thank you for the wisdom, and I'm going to move forward. Like it's that simple. You know what I mean? So
Right.
anyway, that was a long rant
Yeah.
to just be like,
No, no, thank you.
but
Yeah.
yes, yeah.
It just reminded me of when I was in graduate school having the opportunity to work with Native nations, right? Indigenous nations in the US, and learning the concept of seven generations, which is a worldview they use. How will this impact seven generations ahead of me,
I
my
love that so
decisions
much.
today?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that kind of changed my life and my
Wow.
understanding of things, realizing that the decisions I make will have a ripple effect
Mm-hmm.
far into the future. And also viewing myself, like you said, as a future ancestor, right?
Mm-hmm.
As we age, the responsibility that we have to pass on knowledge to generations coming after us,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
also carry the baton of people who, like you said, are tired.
Yeah.
They fought,
Yes.
right? They've spoken up, they've advocated. Now it's our
Yeah.
turn
Yep.
to carry the baton and then pass it back to
Mm-hmm.
generations coming behind us. So intergenerational wisdom is so key. Yes.
Yes.
But I know
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned Audre Lorde. So I
Yes.
love to quote her real quick and then ask what you think.
Mm-hmm.
So Audre Lorde wrote, "For the master's tool will never dismantle the master's house. They may allow us temporarily to beat him at his own game, but they will never enable us to bring about genuine change. How do you think that we can achieve freedom without recreating the oppressive systems that we're trying to get free from? And then can we really get free within a capitalist system, in your opinion?"
Absolutely not. To the last question.
No,
No, if because literally capitalism runs off of scarcity.
it
It
does.
literally runs off of oppression and limited resources and limited access. And so, no, in the world that I want to live in, no, like we can't be free because everybody can't be free. So in my mind, I think that we can achieve freedom by destroying, I'm gonna say it, destroying the systems that exist because they're
Mm-hmm.
trash. They're antiquated. First of all, it's not even just antiquated. It wasn't good in the first place. It wasn't a
It
good
was
plan.
never good.
It was a bad plan.
No,
It was a bad idea, like enforced by a bunch of ragtags from from a place where
absolutely.
they felt rejected. So it's just like it don't even
It's a
like this is a
theory.
it's a theory, and it's literally like we're living in this world because of some white man's ego.
True.
We don't want to listen to you, so we're going to create our like. Come on,
Mm-hmm.
like we're all, and so then they made themselves. It's just so it's so funny that whenever we try to create systems, sadly, systems where we're trying to get free from oppression, we create more systems of oppression, right? Like
Yeah.
because we don't exercise our imagination. When people say to me,
Ooh.
"Well, there's no
Mm-hmm.
other system," that makes me so sad. You're far more creative than that. Stop
Mm-hmm.
it. Take a week off and try to consider something. What like that question? What would a perfect world look like to you, right? And then answer it honestly, and then I will show you where capitalism and white supremacy has seeped in to your visions and your dreams. Because why do you feel like you need to harm somebody else to be good, right?
Ooh.
Um, and so
Can I
yeah,
can I
please,
just
please,
quote you for a second?
sure,
Speaking at the Job Liberation Virtual Summit, which I recently hosted with Dr. Kamadi.
yay,
But yeah, a quote you mentioned during your session on reclaiming childhood dreams. Get the colonizer out of your dreams. Like that was like,
yes,
woo. So
yes,
yes, that just reminded me of that. Hmm.
yes, absolutely. Like they literally told us how far we can dream and what
Yeah.
our dreams have to look like. And I reject all of it. I think we can start from scratch where everyone, like, and I mean everyone, as in like every creature, can be honored on this earth. Like there is a way. It's gonna take time. And one of the first things I wrote down is like, we need time. We're all looking for like this. We need time to
Quick.
experiment,
Hmm.
to play, to put it down and be like, oh, let's workshop this because no, that's not gonna work. Like we need time to fail through finding out a way to live in a world that benefits everybody. But if we're always rushing, we won't have time to do that. Um,
Right.
and I said we have to be careful to consider one another. And one of my, I have like, I'm making this list of like, not rules, but like standards and like my ethic, right? Like my code of ethics. And one of the things is like I look at everybody as a reflection of God.
Hmm.
Everybody. And if we don't start there, all the other plans are going to fail. Like if you don't see other people as human, as important, as honorable, as an expression again of something greater, right? As like sovereign beings, no matter what system you create, it's all going to be oppressive because you're going to see one person as lower than you. And so I think we would have to
Yeah.
prioritize love and care and well-being for all people above our above our individualism, above our pride. And that's going to take some humility and some work and some unlearning because we have been raised so to believe like that our worth, our literal value is based on made up green monopoly money.
Hmm.
If we all decide today that it don't exist, it don't exist.
And we're still
Like,
here.
and we're still here and we'll figure out
Yeah.
something else. The millionaires and the billionaires, they gonna be mad, of course. But for
Hmm.
us, we can actually figure out a way to live in a way that doesn't require those things. And the fact that people can't see that is frightening to me. So trying to become free, that's why I said that I'm realizing that I'm not really a feminist in the way that people understand feminism. Like, yes, I'm for equality of sexes, like for rights and things like that. But
Hmm.
I don't believe that in order for me to be seen as equal, it would require me to harm other people and to exploit myself to make a certain amount. Like that,
Right.
that's not freedom. That's not freedom.
It's not.
Like me wanting to be the master is not freedom. That's me waiting my turn.
Oh,
Like, do you see what I'm
yep.
saying? Like, and I'm not for
Hmm.
it.
It's
So
true.
absolutely not. So I think destroying it, setting it on fire, saying we not doing this no more.
Hmm.
Taking time, considering everyone, right? And however you need to look at people, you do that. But I see everyone as a reflection of God, as an expression of God. Like everyone is an art piece. Everyone is a walking holy creation. And so I cannot dehumanize you because same, right? Like
Hmm.
you deserve what I deserve. Everything. And so then we also have to prioritize love, care, well-being. And those are things that you can't quantify. And I think that's why a lot of people are like, oh, well, how do we, like, we're so obsessed again with punishment. How are we going how we know that people aren't going to take advantage of us? We don't
Yeah.
know, period, right? We don't
Mm-hmm.
know. And it's like, but even still under the system, people still take advantage of us. Capitalism is not protecting us from anything. It's exploiting us. It's setting us up for more harm. It's literally taking advantage of the most disenfranchised people on the planet.
Right.
Right. So like we have to humble ourselves. And I know humble is like a triggering word, but I mean that in the way that like come off your high horse, as in
Mm-hmm.
you are not better than me. You're not looking down on me. You are not the field, like I'm not the field hand and you're not the overseer, honey.
Yes.
We are here together. So come off your
Mm-hmm.
high horse, come down here with me, and let's figure out a way so that we can, live well together. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And capitalism creates these hierarchies, right, of ways that we
Mm-hmm.
view
Mm.
each other,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Placing, okay, this person has this, so they're above me. So, like, no, we're all experiencing this life experience together collectively, right?
Yes.
And yeah,
Yes.
with the dismantling of capitalism, those hierarchies
Mm-hmm.
are destroyed as well. And I feel like that
Yeah.
makes a lot of people afraid because they depend on that for their self-worth,
Mm. Mm-hmm.
right? At
And it's like
least I can view myself as above someone else
that
if
part.
I don't
Yep.
have anything else at the end of the day. Yeah.
At the end of the day, at least I'm better than you. I was going,
Ooh,
at least I'm better than you ninjas. Okay. That's very much what it's
yes.
giving. And like, the thing is, a lot of people want to protect capitalism, but you hate it too. You
Mm-hmm.
hate you hate clocking into your job. You hate working overtime. You hate commuting to work. You hate that you have to pay for groceries. You hate it. You hate it.
Yeah.
It's like you hate having to always be thinking about money. You hate always having to think about how to acquire more money. You hate worrying about the future and knowing that your future is not secure. You hate it. So
Yeah.
do we.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Let's destroy it together and then have a picnic. Like, come on.
Yeah. And I hear a lot of people say, like, well, this is just the best system that exists, so we just have to be okay with it. Like, hold on.
They don't believe that.
Again,
There's no way.
yeah, what are we thinking within the context of colonization a
Mm-hmm.
lot? Within the past like 400, 500 years, that's what people's imagination is limited to. We
Yes.
have thousands of years to draw from. This is not the best system that has ever existed. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Right? This just started in the 1700s.
It's so new and it's failing. Okay.
It's failing.
It's failing.
It's killing the earth.
Yes. It's failing everybody everywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
it really is. It
mm,
really is. And so yeah, the power of leaning into your imagination to envision something different. I
mm-hmm.
feel like that's very powerful.
Yes.
To know that this is not the way that things have always existed,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a different way for them to exist in the future. This is not just what we have to settle for on
Yeah.
Earth.
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
Mm-mm.
I love it. Hey, didn't want to ask you, as the founder of Black Girl Creative, how have artists, musicians, and writers contributed to the celebration and understanding of freedom? What can we learn from these magnificent beings?
Mm. Yes. The artists, the writers, the musicians, they're the prophets. They're
Hmm.
they're they're the visionaries. They're the freedom fighters. They're the ones that give us a song on the battlefield. Like they're the ones, right? Like and there's so much I could say. There's a Western hatred of the arts, but also the need
Yes.
of them.
I have
And
that
we
written down
wonder,
too.
yeah, like we wonder why, right?
Yeah.
Like, because again, if I can limit your imagination, I have you. If I can
Yeah.
limit your expression, like when I think of one of my favorite like stories about I love Motown. Motown is like my favorite subgenre of like soul. Like I love the story behind it, but like I hate how industrialized it was. But that's another conversation for another day. But I
Right.
love Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye is a prophet to me. And he had his issues, of course, a lot of them did. And one thing that he fought for was his ability to release what's going on. And I love hearing the story of that. Like it's such an iconic song that still speaks to us today. The lyrics of the song. And Barry Gordy didn't want him to release it because it would be bad for
Really?
business. Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. Like back then that was like a revolutionary song. But at the time in the 70s, everybody was like becoming revolutionary. Okay. I mean, before then, but especially in music, like you have yeah, you have just like a lot of people like singing about freedom. You have a lot of people singing about
Yeah.
like what's going on in the world,
Black Power
war,
movement.
like
Yeah.
yes, yes. And the Black Power movement had a lot to like had a big influence on the music, right?
Hmm.
And so how music is like a it's like a what is the word I'm looking for? Music, listening to the songs and seeing what time these songs were written. We sing these songs with privilege now, but back then it was revolutionary to say, "Mother, mother, there's too many of you crying.
Yeah.
Brother, 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 there's far too many of you dying. We know we've got to find a way." Like that was revolutionary. Talking about protesting and even like that whole album was just genius. There was a song on there, Mercy Mercy Me, oh mercy mercy
Hmm.
me, right? And um talking about the pollution in the air and the water and people killing and dying and like just like sit like what is going on, mercy mercy me, what is happening? And so he had to fight to release his music, and I'm so glad that he did because it changed the entire landscape. After Marvin Gaye released his album, then more artists at Motown started releasing albums about their freedom and about things that because they weren't able. It's almost like they had to be minstrels, right? Like they
Yes.
weren't real
Hmm.
people. La la la. The world is burning, right? We're singing in places where people are shooting at us because we're black and they're calling us the N
Ooh.
word, and but we got
Hmm.
to shuck and jive and dance for y'all because we're entertainers. They weren't able to be people, and so like Marvin Gaye was like, no, like I want to be like I have something to say, and if you don't allow me to, I'm not releasing any other music until you allow me to release this. And Marvin Gaye was one of the best selling artists at the time. So what does Berry Gordy have
Wow.
to do? Let him release his music, biting his nails.
Mm.
And, and music was better for it. Motown was better for it. They even made like that's one of his most popular albums. And so like so the musicians, the artists, they are the mouthpieces. They are the brave ones. Like I
Yeah.
think about a lot of artists who sadly were not honored while they were living. A lot of artists, Nina Simone, like seen as
Yes.
outcasts.
Hmm.
Like all these artists who had something to say, they were just ahead of their time. And now we reference them, right, as cliff notes, like or as notes on excuse me, notes on the bottom of a page, like as
Right.
resources, as cite as sources. Like these were the people who were ahead of their time. And what I've learned is that if you're an artist speaking the truth, people are not going to like you. People are going to push back.
Mm.
People, but it's to me, it's like you have to be willing. Like, or do you want to pay that price? Marvin Gaye paid that price. Nina paid that price. People thought that she was like they literally called her crazy. Like
Yeah.
who wouldn't go crazy under these conditions? Are y'all
Exactly.
okay? Are y'all paying attention? And the answer is no. But the people who are paying attention are always the people who are outcasted. And so the freedom that they gave themselves, even within their contracts. And like, I don't care what y'all saying. I don't care what y'all talking about me, because they probably did still care. The freedom to express their pain made way for us to do the same thing. Like freedom to explore, freedom to play, like even the good things, right? But also allowing their rage to make change. Like, oh, what a gift. And so
Allowing the rage to make change. I love that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. And as an artist, like what I've learned from them is like I have to be okay with being misunderstood. My my childhood, so many years of my life was spent crying because people didn't get me. People didn't get me. They didn't want to get me. Let's start there. They didn't want to
Hmm.
get me. People didn't get me. But also, like, I think what it really was that I triggered something in them, their humanity.
Yeah.
I trigger people's humanity.
Yeah.
And people sometimes react violently to that. And that's not
Mm.
my job, is not to worry. I want to keep myself safe. Let me say that. But my job is not about maintaining, like, and checking. Like, no, like, my job is to trigger. That is my job. Like,
Wow.
art is triggering in a good way and bad way, right? It resonates either way. Good art makes you feel something.
Hmm.
Good art makes you self-reflect. Like, huh. Like, I'm sure people the first time people heard like Mercy, Mercy Me, things ain't what they used to be. What? We can't drink no water. The oil is wasted upon our seas. Like the fish are full of mercury. Like, listen, look at the destruction of the earth, like of the world.
Right.
And he was misunderstood, but we needed to hear that message because you know what? No one like, and sadly, because black, well, it's a good thing, but it's also like, a lot of black people are only seen through their art, or only paid attention to through their art, because we make such good
Mm.
art. And because, yeah, I need to make some money, but I'm also going to talk about what I want to talk about. And if
Mm-hmm.
you want to dance to my song, you can listen to my words, right? Like, I think that we're the masters. A lot of Black artists are like the masters of putting messaging in things that actually feel good and sound good. And so,
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can. That has been the Black experience. No, like finding joy in some of the most like scarce places, and I think our art reflects that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so some people are committed to misunderstanding you, but it doesn't mean that you have to be confused about yourself because you know what you're talking about. And I think
Right.
the people I look up to, the Audre Lordes, the Marvin Gayes, like my Hall of Fame people, they are they're the people I look to when I'm like, am I saying too much? Is this is
I was gonna ask you, because I
yeah.
know you described yourself as like a recovering people pleaser, right? As I am too. Um, how does that come into play when you are an artist and you're being brave and putting stuff out there that people may have like a visceral reaction to at
Mm-hmm.
first? How do you kind of work through, or does that people pleasing tendency come up, or is it different when you're creating art?
Mm-hmm. No, it's no different. That
Hmm.
I still want to people please. Like I think even as I'm unlearning that, I still have a desire to please people. And what I've learned to do is to look at that with tenderness. I want people to be well. Like that at the heart of my people pleasing, yeah, there is survival. Okay. A lot of survival, a lot of survival
Hmm.
mechanisms that I've used and people pleasing, excuse me, is one. But I also like understand, like, no, I actually care about people. Like I do want
Yeah.
people to be pleased. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What is wrong with me wanting people to be pleased? Right. But when it gets bad is like, am I silencing myself or am I speaking half truths? Am I lying to make other people feel good? I think
Hmm.
that's when it gets like, okay, no, like this isn't like when I make music, I'm like, oh, I hope they like it. You know, I do feel that way. Like I like it, but
Hmm.
I hope they like it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But like I have to literally tell myself the work was creating it and putting it out there. What happens after this is not necessarily up to me anymore. I can't I can't be so tied to the outcomes of whatever this does because like it's not just in my hands anymore. I put it out into the world. There will
Yeah.
be people who spit on it. Just like there are people who spit on me, right? There will be people who disrespect it and disregard it. Just like there are people who disrespect and disregard me. But that don't mean that my worth and value changes because this person don't like me or it's not their taste or they don't like how I sound. You know, and also like just regular things like people just might not like my music. They might find it slow or boring. You know, that's fine. You know,
Hmm.
it sucks. But it's like, but did it make my soul happy? Check, yes, right? Am I proud of the work that I'm putting out there? Yes. Okay. Is it harming anybody? No. People just don't like it. Okay, cool. Then like it's putting out art is an active exercise in healing from people pleasing.
Wow. I
Yes.
agree with that. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Like this idea of like developing thick skin, it hasn't really worked out for me and I don't want to have thick skin and I think that's the price that you pay for being sensitive is that you care about everything, right? And it's okay to care about everything. It's okay to be upset about a comment that somebody left and said this is utter garbage because you meant what you said. Because
Hmm.
that meant a lot to you. Of course you're going to have feelings, right? And learning not to demonize myself for being offended because somebody doesn't like something that I put in time and effort into doing. I don't have to be ashamed about that. But also, I'm not going to stop creating because you don't like it because you're just not my people. But am I going to disregard all those people, even if it's five, all those people who like my
Hmm.
music or my writing? No, because you don't like it, please. I'm worth it. I'm worth it creating. And so are the people that enjoy my stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been kind of telling myself that lately too. Like, my only responsibility is to trust the download.
That's it.
I can take my hands off the outcome. Like, I don't have any control over that. But the more that I lean into this was downloaded to me,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going forward with this,
Mm-hmm.
that's when it's like I'm at peace too. And I
Yes.
can kind of start healing from that people pleasing tendency too. Are they going to like it or am I going to
Yeah.
like, no, take your
Yeah.
hand off of it.
That's it.
Your only job is to trust what was given to you. And I feel like that is creativity, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
our direct link to source.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So the more that we are able to trust in that and kind of heal from that
Mm-hmm.
tendency to consider what other people think about what we're doing, it's
Yes.
like you see the magic in that.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yes.
just think about like Black women creators,
Mm-hmm.
right? Trusting the vision and things that we're hearing, because a lot of us have these spiritual gifts to hear things from beyond, right? And then
Absolutely.
use our power to create something tangible and
Hmm.
just putting it out in the world, and trusting in that, the
Yes,
power
like
in that. Mm-hmm.
yes. Like so yeah, so shout out to y'all for the summit because it was amazing. The
Thank
Job
you.
Liberation Summit. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
When I read the poem that I wrote about how Black women literally, again, like you said, they take things out of the
Mm-hmm.
imagination and bring them into matter.
Mm-hmm.
That is magic.
Yeah.
Like to take an idea that you got laying in your bed or in the shower, like, oh, okay, let me write this down real quick. And then
Yes.
to have the tangible like evidence of like, wow, like this is the power of my creativity. Like
Mm-hmm.
creativity is so powerful. Like
Yeah.
you're literally taking something out of nothing and creating it into
Absolutely.
something that other people can feast on and like sit under and enjoy. Like what a gift. Ah, I
Such
love
a
that.
gift.
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I've been leaning more into that, just learning like my special abilities, right?
Mhm.
Being in this body. I'm like, oh my gosh,
I love
I have
that.
the power to create, right?
Yes.
So many
Yes.
things. And trusting in that.
Mm-hmm.
Trusting in that.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Because can I say one thing when you
Yeah.
mentioned, okay, when you were talking about taking your hands off of it, like you have to trust, right, that you've done enough. Every like even the art that I put out there, it ain't all perfect. I know. Like I know that there are things that I can improve and I don't want to. And I don't want to improve it because
Right.
like even in the arts using air quotes imperfection, it's still worthy, right? And I think that's like the work is like okay, yes, I've here's my beautiful thing that I'm putting out into the world. Because trying to control the reception of it is exhausting and it's impossible. You can't. You
You
can't.
can't. Mm-mm.
I did a whole podcast about how I was, sexually assaulted and
Mm-hmm.
somebody disliked the video. And that pissed me off.
Mm.
It pissed
Mm-hmm.
me off
Yeah.
because like what are you disliking that it happened or are you disliking that I'm talking about it like and I had to really sit with myself and be like Alecia there will always be somebody there will always be
Always.
somebody
Yeah.
who's either trying to trigger you or just like trolling you or whatever and like there will always be someone who just doesn't like you and coming to that
Yeah.
realization is hard because again as women we're socialized to be liked like that's where our worth and our value comes from is being liked our protection has come
Yeah.
from being liked being seen as the perfect victim if something ever occurs right you have to
Yeah.
be liked and so for Black women specifically unlearning people pleasing have grace with yourself. You have been programmed to say, like, if people like me, then I am worthy. Like,
Yeah.
your
And
worth
I'm
is tied to,
safe. Yeah.
yes, I am safe. And so, like, understanding that those triggers will still be there, and you probably will still get your feelings hurt if somebody doesn't like something you put your heart and soul into. And even still, you are still worthy and deserving. You're still worthy and
Yeah.
deserving of being seen and heard and creating and creating. There are
Creating.
people who are watching, listening, taking in, viewing that will never comment or share, or never let you know that they see it, but they see it. People see it. And
Yeah.
you being seen as a gift to them as well as it is to yourself, So, yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's a theme that came up. I don't know if I necessarily have the words right now, but it's like when art is first created, there's this reaction to it. A lot of the times I'm thinking about Zora Neale Hurston,
Mm.
in particular, right? Where people will not really value what you're putting out, they'll kind
Yep.
of downplay it. And then decades later, people are still studying it and like regarding you as this visionary, and you
Yes.
may have passed by
Yep.
that point.
Yep.
Right. So there's like this external validation that doesn't come sometimes when you're
Mm.
actually creating it. But then
Yes.
after you're gone, right,
Mm.
or years, decades later, now all of a
Mhm.
sudden you're like uplifted in
Yes.
culture and people are reading your books and courses and stuff like that. Like, what is that? What is that
Yeah.
about?
It's again, there's like a scripture that says like a prophet is never welcomed in his hometown. And I really do
Mm,
believe that like prophets are like ahead of time. Like, and I'm not talking about like, oh, I prophesy you're
mm.
gonna make $1 million. No, like they're exercising bravery that we as a collective have not reached yet. You know what I'm saying? Like
Wow.
I really do feel like that about a lot of artists that we don't understand or that trigger something in us that make us mad. It makes us mad because it's uncovering something in us. Like it's doing something to us. And I'm not talking about like art that's like inflammatory or racist or these kinds of things. I'm talking about art that strikes a chord with you
Right.
And I think what I've what I've learned about people is that they need social proof first. A lot of people have groupthink. It is what it is. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
what to do about it. But like if for example we see a video with like 10 views versus like 1,000, we automatically think like, oh, the 1,000 views must be more legitimate, like for
Again, the
whatever reason.
quantitative data. Yeah.
Yes, yes, because
Mm-hmm.
exactly, because we can quantify. Oh, these are how many eyes have seen this. It doesn't talk about the
Yes.
quality of it. It doesn't talk
Mm-mm.
about whether it's actual factual. It doesn't talk about whether it's offensive or no. It talks about like what is most popular. And because of because of the world that we live in today, I know that because I am Black, I am woman, I am not necessarily what people find. I am unambiguously Black, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there are features that I have that automatically deem me as not necessarily uh reputable. It is what it
Mm-hmm.
is. Like, I'm not reputable, I'm not worthy of being listened to. But one thing I'm not going to do is not listen to myself. I'm not going to wait until the whole world sees me and values me to value me, right? Like, and
Right.
and yeah, maybe I won't be celebrated. I don't know. I hope not. But maybe I won't be celebrated until like I'm up out of here. But I do think it has to do with like it's not personal. It's you are ahead of your time.
Wow.
And
I feel
people
like that
people
frees
haven't
a
caught
lot of
up.
people. Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Yeah. They just haven't caught up yet.
Yeah.
Like we're up here talking about like sharing resources, like these thoughts that I've had these thoughts since childhood, and I've had nowhere to
Mm-hmm.
put them. Like, why do we need money for groceries if there are that don't make no sense? Because grandma and them had fruit trees, and I don't. Okay, like why we have these questions, like because spirit trusts us with these thoughts and these
Mm-hmm.
questions, right? Like because you're the one to say something about it. You're the one that gets the ball rolling so that the
Right.
change can happen that as it needs to happen. Like you're the one, and it sucks sometimes being the one because you're alone for a lot of it. You're
Mm-hmm.
misunderstood for a lot of it, but you are actually the foundation of the change. Like you and maybe like a few other collective voices like, hold on, no. And now people
Mm-hmm.
are literally talking about that. Let's burn this stuff down and start over. And I'm like, these are my people, right? But I was just ahead of
Yeah.
my time. Like
Mm-hmm.
I just hadn't found my community yet. But I always feel like there's always people who exist, and it might not be many, but there are a few who exist to reflect back to you that you're not losing your mind, that you are actually making a lot of sense. It just might be not be the masses, but like the masses, when you talk about like the bell, I'm trying to like whatever, like early adopters versus like late adopters or whatever, like
Mm-hmm.
early adopters, like yeah, there's going to be people who are adventurous and like whatever, but there are people who are programmed and they're going to take a lot of time to like unlearn that program, and they won't get with it until they see that, oh, it's safe. Okay, this is a safe idea. You're the brave one. Because you're the brave one, sometimes you do go alone. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's the gift and the burden. But yeah.
That's so true. Yeah. And that's why I feel like it's so important, as you talk about, to go back into childhood and examine who you were. Because a lot of us, like you said, we've been knowing this since we came here. Like, that's not right. But when we
Yeah.
called it out, now all of a sudden people are like, don't say anything. Don't say
Yep.
that. Like,
Yep.
shh.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're in their adulthood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Already socialized to preserve the status quo. And that's why children are so powerful because
Mm-hmm.
they can call out things that are not right. And
Yeah.
that irritates a lot of adults, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a term like adult supremacy that I came across a few months ago.
That makes
I'm like,
sense.
that's so true.
That makes sense.
Yes. Because children are so
Yes.
powerful just in their
They
ability to call
are.
out things that are clearly
Yes.
wrong.
Yes.
Hmm.
And children are so clear. They're so
They are.
clear.
They
Like
are.
we
Hmm.
all just need to have hearing ceremonies for ourselves. That's what we need. We need to all
Yes.
sit down and have a hearing ceremony. But yes.
Yes. We do.
Yeah.
Yes. Realize like why we're here.
Mhm.
Our purpose, our unique gifts,
Mhm.
and reclaiming those parts of ourselves as adults, because it's
Yes.
never too late, right?
No,
No matter how old you are, you can always go back and reclaim those parts that you've lost along the way. Yeah.
always. Always.
But yes, is there a particular piece of art, music, or literature that you feel captures the true essence of freedom?
Yes. Jazz.
Mm.
Jazz.
Hmm.
Um, jazz. Okay, so jazz is a black genre. I mean, black music genre, like basically all American music. But I love that jazz includes improv. I love that. I
Mm-hmm.
love that jazz allows people to play around and to like not make sense. And also like a lot of things like they're not restricted to what's in the stanzas. You feel me? Like they're not restricted to what's
Right.
like in on music, because a lot of them did not read music. Let's start there. A lot of them did not read music, and so like they're just feeling their way through a song. They're I don't know if you ever seen, like, I'm sure you have, but like, yeah, because you're, I mean, St. Louis, whatever, but like seeing a band play together and how they're all
Mm-hmm.
connected spiritually, like they're making eye contact
Yeah.
and like, I know where you're going, I know what you're doing, like, to me that captures like the essence of freedom, as in like you show up with your gifts and your talents and your input and your improv, and I trust you and I allow you space to like have a drum solo or a horn solo, or let's play this so people can dance. Like there's so many. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps as I talk about it. But even
Yeah.
how jazz is, mm, wow, like how jazz is like, to me, like the freedom of expression when jazz was formed on plantations,
Mm-hmm.
the
Yeah.
foundations of them, right?
Yeah.
Like the foundations of a lot of black music is the plantation where people were not free.
Yeah.
Then you have jazz where it's like, actually, I'm going to do what I want. I'm going to scat. I'm
Yeah.
going to,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, I'm going to do what I want. And every time you hear this piece, it's going to be different because I get to show up as I want to today. And then tomorrow I play the same song, and I play it a different way today, and I arrange it differently, and I collaborate with someone different. I just love the feeling of jazz, and like the expression of it. And I love seeing people perform jazz, and like sometimes on jazz records, because of how they recorded the music, you can hear the person, like the pianist, for example, playing the notes, but also singing along with them, right? And so like they're scatting themselves like da 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 da, like you'll hear them in the background, and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
these people are in flow. And for 5 minutes or 10 low key, because jazz songs be long, but forever long, however long they're playing, they're free. Like for 10 minutes, oppression doesn't exist. I can do what I want, even if I'm just
Ooh.
playing on your stages. I can say what I want. Encoded language and things that you won't understand. I can scat and in a way of speaking in tongues and
Yeah.
expressing myself in ways that you don't even know what I'm saying, but I know what I'm saying, and the people that I'm playing with know what I'm saying. Like there are singers who scat and you can feel, ooh, that's love, or ooh, that's sorrow, right? Like just being able to like literally, like black people are magicians. I don't know how to explain it, but like what's
Yeah.
happening in front of you is not what's happening. You feel me? Like by the
Mm-hmm.
time you realize what's happening, it's too late. We're gone. We're on off to something else. You know what I'm saying? And like Trisha Hersey has a phrase where she talks about like how black people have like mastered the art of escape.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
I think of jazz as an escape. The time that jazz was, I mean, the time that jazz was created, but then also like being able to create it and to escape the moment and flow with other people. Oh yeah, I think about like Soul, the Disney movie
Yeah, yeah.
with,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like how he was in flow and like how spiritual that experience is. And so like we're all having like the spiritual experience with each other and being free for 5 to 10 minutes. Jazz, the history of it. There's this rap song that says like it's about like a jazz thing. It's a jazz thing. Anyway, it's a rap song, but it talks about the history of music. And one of the lines is like, it praised the Lord, shouted on chain gangs, right? Like
Mm. Mm-hmm.
jazz came so far and has traveled through so much, traveled through time, and we still use jazz today. We still use improv today. The scatting turning into rapping, right? Like
True.
it's
Yeah.
so, it's just amazing. I love music. But yes, but jazz, the improv, the freedom to express how you feel, like we're not stuck in the standards. You can do what you want, and you can do what you want every single time. And people trust you to do what you want. So yeah, thanks for asking that.
Mm.
That's a beautiful question.
Wow. That was amazing. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that.
Oh,
But yes,
yeah.
flow. I
Yeah.
feel like in those moments where you do experience that thing where you're just able to let go and release and kind of trust the messages that are coming to you,
Yes.
that creative flow, that's like something very special and
Mm-hmm.
divine.
Mm-hmm.
The times when I've experienced it, I'm like, oh wow, that
Yes.
feels like I don't know if there's a word in the English
No.
language that truly like captures it, but
Mm-mm.
it's so special. It's just like
Yes.
sparkly. That's what's coming to mind.
I love that. That's
Yeah.
perfect. That's perfect. Because even like the like the act of getting in flow, like even with like jazz, so I'll do scatting for jazz, right? When you're scatting, you can't think too much. You're thinking, but you can't be in
Mm,
your head too much. You got to be in your heart. You can't be in your head with scatting. Like you feel your way through it, right? And
right.
even though like you're thinking and act like you're actively creating, like it's an like when people are performing, they're actively creating. And so there has to be like when you talk about get the colonizer out of your dream, you have to get the colonizer out of your head when you're
Ooh.
performing jazz.
Mm-hmm.
Like because they say, "Oh, you have to play the music exactly how I wrote it." No, I don't. I do what I want, right? And having to like put down those filters. Like you have to do that to be able to perform well. You know what I'm saying? So even when we talk
Mm-hmm.
about flow, like that flow is like an act of rebellion. Like being in flow is like like not even on purpose,
It
but just like
is. Mm-hmm.
I'm
Yeah.
free. Oh, I love the way you put that, but that's beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. And the word that came to mind was re-embodiment, right? Coming back into your body
Mm-hmm.
because that oppression often lives in our minds.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming back into our bodies and not having, like you literally cannot rely on your mind. Like you said, you can't think too much
Yeah.
and you have to stay in your body,
Mm-hmm.
and just trust what you're
Mm-hmm.
doing. That's
Yeah,
healing.
it
And I feel like that's
is.
like the healing power of creativity. Yeah.
I'm like so excited, but yes.
But yes, I would love to ask as we're wrapping up,
Mhm.
as you prepare to embark on your sabbatical, what do you envision freedom looking like as you now have time to rest and slowly create? And then also, how can people contribute to your sabbatical fund?
Thanks for asking.
Hmm.
Um, I'm realizing that there are things that I want to create during the sabbatical, but my focus is joy and play.
Hmm.
Like I want to embody joy. I want to play around. I want to be a kid again. I want to further connect to that child who was in that womb, who knew exactly, who she was and what she came here for. I'm unlearning in real time, resting in real time. And so I think for me, freedom for me during my sabbatical looks like going to the park and sitting on a blanket, which I have been doing, by the way, and I've been loving it. But sitting on a blanket in the
Yeah.
park and reading
Hmm.
a book or looking out into the sky or
Right.
looking at the trees and, talking to the little animals and the plants. Like there's this, okay, one of my favorite insects is called the hoverfly. And
Hmm.
the name is off-putting, but they're so cute. They're adorable. They look like little bees, but they're not, and they have like really big wings and they hover. Like they hover. And whenever I'm outside, they find me. Like they just kind of
Wow.
like, hey, and I'm like, hey girl, you're so cute. And so like I let them, I just let them, if they want to rest
Yeah.
on my leg, they can, or if a bag that I have is creating shade for them to rest under, like doing stuff like that, like reconnecting with like my community, like being a kid again, changing my perspective, getting in the grass, like putting my feet in the grass, like as I did when I was a
Hmm.
kid, and like
Yeah.
reconnecting with who I really am, giving myself the ability to believe what I believe and not have to explain myself. I've been doing a lot of writing, just a lot of
Yeah.
like, okay, the download came, let me put it down on paper and not try to
Hmm.
like rationalize it or intellectualize it or even
Ooh.
make it
Yeah.
longer than what it needs to be, because sometimes my messages are a sentence long and I feel like I need to like, oh, for this to be legitimate I have to like, do a
Ooh.
whole essay, and like no I don't, I said what I like, let's like spirit is like I said what I said, and you know what that
Exactly.
means, right?
And can I say that a message
Sure.
came to me like a few weeks ago to
Yes.
unlearn legitimacy, unlearn the concept of legitimacy. And that's been like changing my life
Yes.
for the
Yes, I
going
love
forward.
that.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
even as you say that, like shackles fall, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
people don't know that they're allowed to not make everything like legitimate to
Yeah.
everybody else. Like we don't know that until we hear, and that's what I mean by like profit. Like that's what I mean by
Mm-hmm.
like your words, your beliefs set other people free, because same, right? When you
Mm-hmm.
said that, something in me was like, yes. Like yes, that is so freeing to not be like, I don't actually have to be legitimate to you.
No,
Like how do you even determine what is legit and what's not? Like let's be real.
exactly. Mm-hmm.
You already know what things you're going to see as legitimate and what you're not. And I'm not going to fight for my right to be seen. I see myself as legitimate. Like if spirit told me something that is legitimate, that's it.
That's it.
Period.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'll find out why, or later maybe not, but that's it.
Yeah. That's so true.
I love
And
that,
just
Marissa. Mm,
Yeah, taking the power out of other people's hands to validate what you're doing.
yes. Mm,
Um, in me kind of exploring how oppression works.
mm-hmm,
One of those ways is legitimacy, is through things like we were talking about earlier.
mm-hmm.
Legality, documents, right? Is
Yes.
this like to code? Well, who has the power to determine that? Um, and so if you
Yes.
operate outside of that, it's like you're taking that power out of their hands and you're putting it back into
Exactly.
source,
Yep.
which
Yep.
is the only thing that we have to trust and take our hands off of it. That's
That's
it. That's how I've been
and
living. Yeah.
it, it's so powerful, but it's also frightening.
Yeah.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like, wow, like it's empowering, but it's like, yo, like, no, like spirit really do be talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to worry, like, oh, I don't, you know how people say, like, oh yeah, God told me X, Y, and Z. I don't really have experiences like where I hear an audible voice, like where I
No, me neither.
hear, you know,
Mm-mm.
like so I'll be like, oh, maybe God don't be really talking to me. Spirit be talking to me all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All the time. And often it's because we're looking for something more complex and complicated that we don't
Yes.
listen to it or heed
That's
it.
true. Mm-hmm.
Right. But spirit knows you. It knows that you are simple. And
Yeah.
spirit's gonna speak to you simply because spirit is kind. Spirit doesn't need to make things like if spirit knows who you are, knows your address, why would spirit make it hard for you to understand something that spirit wants you to understand?
Mm.
That don't make no sense. So of course
Mm-mm.
sometimes my things are one sentence because it's like in one sentence will move me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It will utterly
Absolutely.
change the direction of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but we try to, like you said, like legitimize it, make it like, oh, I have the supporting materials because X, Y, and Z agrees with me as well. Actually, like I can say something, and I'm not talking about obviously like medical things. That's a whole other thing. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
like no, what I. But even then,
Even then, because we,
even
hey.
then, like people had like the ancestors and their people today. Like shout out
Mm-hmm.
to all the herbalists who are friends
Yeah.
of plants
Mm-hmm.
and friends of the body and know how
Yeah.
to know how to merge that relationship because we used to have such a working relationship with the earth that we actually were supported by the earth and healed by the earth. And there
That's
are people
true.
who have that connection. And so even with the health and all that other stuff, like we really gotta I really just leave room for the possibility that I could be wrong about everything.
Mm-hmm.
And like and spirit will get me together if
Yeah.
spirit needs to get me together. And until spirit gets me together, this is what spirit gave me and I'm moving forward with it. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
That's
And
it.
sometimes I'll just have like a word come to me. I'll be like, hmm,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll write it down, right?
Yeah.
And then like weeks, months will pass and that word will come back up. I'm like, okay, that's
Yes.
where. So you don't
Yes.
know it at the time necessarily, right? But it's just trusting that as you live and experience things, that connection will appear.
Yeah. And
And
spirit
those
trusts
moments are
you.
like, wow, yeah,
Yeah. Spirit
yeah.
trusts you. Like sometimes I'll be like, why am I not getting more? Right? Spirit trusts me with what I have and trust that I will find more along the way when it pops up. Right? When we talk about that word, like
Mm-hmm.
you're it's gonna be in your mind like, oh, like that's the word was given to you because like you're gonna recognize it later. Like
Yeah.
just the kindness in that. Like when it just yeah, I'm also in a place where I'm redefining my relationship and restructuring my relationship with spirit in a not
Yeah.
oppressive way that like Christianity creates.
Mm.
This fear of God and like you have to be submitted and you have to you're a wretched being. Actually, spirit loves me. Spirit is obsessed with me. Okay?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
what? I'm a lovely person. I'm a lovely
Absolutely.
creation, you
Yeah.
know? But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you touched on something just like being afraid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because a lot of us will have messages, right? Which was the case for me. I've been experiencing this since I can remember, since childhood. But me being afraid of it when a message would come to me, because no one around me like affirmed or even had any idea what this was.
Yes.
So we
Yes.
become afraid of our own gifts that are actually leading us towards freedom, right?
Oh my gosh. That's why community is so important. And our elders are so important.
Yeah.
Like my great grandmother and I, you know, quickly I talked about her life and how she was a friend of squirrels
Yeah,
and how
yeah.
like wherever she went, squirrels found her. I don't know what it is, right? But it's like I would
Hmm.
have loved to have a conversation with her about nature because my mother also, and my grandmother. So my granny is my grandmother. She was a friend of squirrels. My grandmother had a green thumb. Everything she touched grew. My mother inherited that green thumb, right? There's something like there's something there that spirit is like, pay attention to. And I'm just like, okay, like the fear of, like, we've been taught to be afraid of nature. Like
Mm-hmm.
just stuff like that. Like, and reconnecting with, like, you're actually fine. You come from a line of people who are friends with nature. Like they were
That's
fine.
true.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, it's just so I don't even know how I got here, but yeah, but just like I'm like you talk unlearning, like that word unlearning the fear, or even like allowing people to talk me out of what I know spirit said to me.
Oh,
Um
yep.
because I have no proof. That part. I
Yeah.
have nothing tangible to prove what I know. And then I push it down and I say, okay, maybe it's not true. Maybe not. And then, like, sure enough, oh, it was
It's
true.
true.
Okay. I knew what I was talking about. Spirit
Mm-hmm.
knows what spirit is talking about. And spirit trusts me. And it's time for me to start trusting myself and trusting
Mm-hmm.
spirit.
Yeah,
Ugh,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Because we're socialized to have proof
Yes.
for everything.
Yep.
Um, Even when we put an idea out there, right? People may respond, well, what's your proof? Let
Oh
me
my
see your
gosh.
research. It's like, no,
No.
I know it inherently.
Yes.
And that's a way, again, to like delegitimize what you know,
Yeah.
to delegitimize spirit, because spirit is more powerful than any of these oppressive systems or institutions. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Because, like, you, I've been sitting with this phrase, like, you are a sacred text.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you are
Yeah.
a sacred text, and you have been studying this, and you do have proof because you have your body, you have your spirit, you have your soul. Like, you have
Right.
years of experience. What do you mean you don't know what you're talking about? Of
Right.
course you know what you're talking about. Nobody survives this world not knowing what, like, well, unless you're oppressing other people, but nobody survives under oppression in this world without knowing what you're doing and what you're talking about. But it's like
Mm-hmm.
them in our head telling us, like, no, you need to second guess yourself because you're poor, and because you're poor, you're a failure, and because you're a black woman, you have to work twice. Like, it's these ideas, like, that we're not enough, are always from somebody else. It's never from
Mm-hmm.
us.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Ooh, powerful. Powerful. But yes, as we're wrapping up, how can people contribute to your sabbatical fund and also
Oh,
continue to follow your journey online?
yes, yes. So, thanks for asking. So I'm Alecia Renece everywhere. So, Instagram, YouTube is Alecia Renece the artist. I have a podcast that'll probably be renamed. I need to just do it because Spirit told me to do it. I need to be obedient. So, I need to change the podcast name to the Alecia Renece podcast. You can find me there. Yeah, or you can just send me an email at hello@aliciarenece.com. And I will get to you as soon as I can. And I say that with emphasis, as soon as I can, because I get overwhelmed very easily. Just bear with me. And yeah, if you would like to contribute to my sabbatical, I would appreciate that. That's very kind. I have a Ko-fi account, which is ko-fi.com, and Alecia Renece /Alecia Renece. So I guess I can send you the link. But yeah, it would really be helpful just to be able to rest and I also want to say this, like, the power of community. I'm actually going on sabbatical. Shout out to Stephanie Perry and the
Yeah.
Vicarians. Yes, yes,
Mm-hmm.
shout out to them. I can't not, like, I can't not talk about this because it's just like revolutionary to me. Like, so women get together and put money together to support a woman going on sabbatical, taking a rest, like,
Mm-hmm.
and not demanding anything from them in the process, not saying you have to have a completed work. You can just rest and disappear for a
Yeah.
year. You can be a human, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm so grateful for this opportunity, and I'm also so grateful for the inspiration because I wanted to do something like this for creative women, and now I'm being shown, like, possibility models.
Right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Was it Dr. Joy Harden Bradford,
Yeah.
for the possibility models.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm seeing what's possible when women, specifically black women, get together. Like, we are so abundant that we allow other women to be able to rest in a world that tells us resting is, like, earned. It's like, it's dope. So I'm grateful. And I will be using that time to play and to create. If I feel like creating, I have things that I want to create. So to create, but also, like, mostly just to rest and to get back in touch with my child self. So yeah, I've been a full-time artist for 7 years, and at this point 8 years. And so now I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm ready to take a rest. I've been putting out a lot of stuff and been putting my heart and my soul in my music and podcasts and photo projects and doing the hard work that I want to do. And capitalism has stopped me from resting and doing the work that I actually want to do. And so now this is giving me an opportunity to see myself outside of capitalism, and to just be. So I'm grateful. Yeah. So yeah. So
Yay.
ko-fi.com/Alecia Renece. Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, and we're grateful for you and everything that you have shared. Has been life-changing for so many of us, the communities that you've created.
Aw,
Um, yeah, everything you share so generously. We appreciate you
I
and look
appreciate
forward to
you.
you being able to rest
Thank you.
on your sabbatical.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, thank you
I'm
so
grateful.
much for being
Thank
my
you.
guest again
Thank
on
you.
Freedom in commemoration of Juneteenth with special guest Alecia Renece, the artist. Thank
Thank
y'all for
you.
listening.
Yes.
Bye.